Welcome, 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 YouTubers. And now, because I didn't do it last time, I need to make sure to actually hit auto find and activate on your chat. And now we've got YouTube chat running. We didn't have it running last time. I only had a couple people come in. The big gaps in my stream schedule always cause viewership to kind of tank, which it's fine. You know what? I've stopped letting that get to me. But man, we used to be like a 100 viewer channel, right? One day we'll get back there. Maybe if I start doing some more exciting stuff, and I'm trying to clear out, you know, to do more exciting stuff. I attempted with this project to attract people from the dog drama from Hassan Abi. Technically, I'm not allowed to mention other streamers during my stream, but I tried to kind of ape on that situation because I have no standards for behavior. But also because it's funny and it's a project that I kind of came up with randomly. Some of the best projects around here are ones where I'm just like bored and I come up with something, like mentally bored with what I'm doing because I've been working on something for so long. And then I just go, wait, I've got this thing and this thing, and like, you know, put chocolate on my peanut butter. What's up, Mr. Ed? How you doing? Mr. Ed Makes. Boy, if I did a maker channel where I was a talking horse, I'd go through a lot of peanut butter, I'll tell you what. I don't know how I'm going to do with the antenna. Unless I upgrade everything to the C6. I don't know. Or come up with some kind of little antenna board. We'll figure it out when we get to that section of hardware. I think what's going to happen is, because this is the C3 in the original enclosure, the water seal probably doesn't work as well as it could. It'll be good enough. This pushes out the enclosure by 0.5 millimeter, which isn't a lot in a lot of things, but it is a lot in electronics. So pushed out 0.5 millimeter, and then I've got a little bit of space for another circuit board over here, and maybe I could sneak the microphone underneath that circuit board. Battery, I don't know where the battery is going to connect because this is like flush. Maybe I could use a little flat cable to come out over to it, or I could just bump this thing with the two pins. The two pins would probably crush into the battery a little bit. I have to figure that out because the only way to access the battery tabs is underneath the jowl. There's the two tabs for the battery, and this one, they're all the way at the bottom there. We got a bit of hardware to figure out on this thing, but I think we can do it. And then the switch would have to be in a similar location than the old one. I got to be careful because these are live wires right here. So I'd have to somehow get that button to be right there, which is over top of the micro. I might have to turn it 90 degrees, maybe use some Captain tape to sort of secure it in place to get that same location of the click. I thought I would be able to solder to the side of it, that I'll put it all the way over here. It needs to be, yeah, it needs to go horizontally right here. And hopefully this doesn't get in the way. There's a little bit of, I can still feel it flexing in a little. With a little bit of luck. A little bit of luck, we can make this. We can make this happen. Are my hands swollen? My hands feel swollen. I don't know. No, they're okay. Willow nipped me. She got tired of my bullshit. I was annoying her. There's this thing where when she's sitting with me, she'll want to get her belly partially scratched. And so she goes sort of on her side, and it's not really on her side. It's just kind of like leaning a little bit on her side. And so sometimes I will be mean and I will put my hand up by her spine and I will push her over, and she'll roll over, and she'll typically get performatively mad at me. Although she's been a little bit vicious about it, she'll go and then play bite. But in this time, she did it so quickly that her tooth ran into my finger and I got a little scratch. But yeah, it's very cute, but I don't want to do it to her too much because I think it stresses her out a little bit. I think it does. You know, she doesn't mind rolling over and getting belly rubs, but I think her little performative annoyance is a little too close to actual annoyance. So I gotta stop doing that with her. I mean, we used to play rough. I mean, she used to give me lots of different cuts on my hand as a puppy dog, but that was during her raptor phase that all puppies go through. About a year and a half into ownership, they become real dogs that are calm and don't bite literally everything. But yeah, the puppy phase was a lot of fun. We did a lot of like fighting during that time. Technically, this sign does light up. Maybe we can put a bunch of LEDs behind it at some point, and I can make it into an indicator whether or not the stream is live. I have, for now, I have this one here, which I have to look at when I leave the shop so that I don't leave things up and running, because I've done that a couple times before, is leave the stream up while I'm walking the dog, and then I'll get a text message from like Shorty or Dewey or somebody who's saying, you know, you're still live. It's like, oh shit. And then my 4-hour stream ends up being 8 hours of just nothing. Usually it's the face cam view because I'm always talking to you guys when I end stream. One of those times I'm going to be walk by the camera in my skivvies. I'll have been streaming for an entire day and I'll come downstairs in my underwear to change out an insulin pump, and you guys will get full frontal bother. Anyway, so far so good. The dog collar project's been going slow, but we've got a couple things that I want to do in terms of like gaming and stuff, and that'll attract possibly more people. I'm not too sure. What up, 3D Lasers? How you doing? I'm not too sure what'll attract more people unless I pivot over to games and do some gaming streams, because it always gets, you know, like a group of people instead of just individuals looking for project stuff on Twitch. I don't know. The project stuff, I guess everybody does YouTube. It's probably much more lucrative for the amount of views that you get. It is, in fact. Otherwise, everybody would be doing this, unless you cozy up to a bunch of very popular streamers, which I know a couple people have done that. Maybe I could go to TwitchCon. I don't know what good that'll do. Might put me on the radar of some larger streamers. Certainly, getting into their chat is not effective on Twitch. It's like they seem to think it's a faux pas. I don't mind if I get somebody with a check mark on my chat. I am delighted. It's like the best thing ever. Yeah, that was the whole point of the project, is to ape on the whole situation. It does not elude me, the words that I put into my titles. Very intentional. I tested doing circuit boards with diode laser, oddly thing that is resistant to heat and not meant to burn. Doesn't cut too well with lasers. You're trying to cut a circuit board using a diode laser. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of trouble with that. Diode lasers are getting mightily powerful lately, but you'd need like a charge pump, like fiber laser, or possibly a CO2 laser in order to get through copper, which is typically used to disperse heat. There was a fellow who had one of the rangefinder lasers from the M1A Abrams tank. And the rangefinder laser, the old one in an M1A Abrams tank, used to be able to get these surplus for like cheap. I tried to get one. I didn't succeed. It's a piece of ruby, a ruby laser that is wrapped in a flash bulb. I think it's either sitting next to or wrapped in a flash bulb. And the flash bulb is then surrounded with reflecty stuff. And so what you do is you hit that flash bulb with all of those photons, and the ruby actually like fluoresces with the photons, and then you can bounce it back and forth on mirrors until those photons are in alignment and you get the coherent laser, and then boom, out the front comes this really powerful laser. And so the M1A Abrams tank had a rangefinder that uses a ruby laser in order to make an infrared beam, and that would do a time of flight bounce on the target, and then they'd do all the ballistic calculation off of that. Well, that laser somebody bought and got it working again, and it was powerful enough that they could almost ablate copper off of fiberglass. But the thing is, you've got fiberglass, which is not that great at dispersing heat, and then you've got copper on top of it. It's like the opposite of the way you'd want it to be in order for you to properly create and create traces on a circuit board. The problem is control. How do you ablate that top layer completely and not completely damage the layer beneath it? And that's very difficult to do. It takes a lot of tuning. It's a lot more trouble than just simply laser printing a photo transfer of resistant material that then goes into a bath that eats the exposed copper. You know? Copper cut relatively well, but it heated up so much that the glue melted and the copper came off the board. That's a unique one too. Well, I guess I've experienced that a lot with just straight up soldering onto PCBs. You know, you rework something with a hot enough iron enough, and your traces just kind of leave. They just kind of, they're like, well, I'm not part of this anymore, and they just unstick. So yeah, I could see that totally. Crazy though. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, how do the big etching machines do it? Are they just that good with lasers? Like how are they? Are we still? I don't think the big machines are still using chemicals to etch away. Maybe they're using an electric process. I don't know. I guess they're probably still masking and etching with chemicals, huh? I need to find like the brochure from one of those big machines and figure out what you got to put into it in order to get it to run, because they've made creating circuit boards into this big factory process where you've basically got this giant sheet metal enclosed just rectangle that goes way down a factory floor, and in one end you put in PCB materials, and in the other end it just poops out like fully produced and plated circuit boards. You know, these are like machines that you just buy and you just drop them in a warehouse. So I'm wondering what chemicals you have to pour into these things in order to get them to function. Then you got to dispose of the chemicals. Ugh. I don't like it. That's why I send them out my designs to a third party for them to build the circuit board, and then I get professional circuit boards, and I don't have to dispose of weird forever chemicals in the, you know, by pouring them down a sewer drain that leads to a lake. On the Pro process, though, that wouldn't that cost money? Wouldn't that need chemicals? Isn't that illegal? Sorry, I'm breening. I saw a preview for a new Breen film. There's going to be a new Breen film at some point, and it looks like he's learned his lessons, which is the coolest thing ever that he's gotten. He's absorbed the criticisms that are actually legitimate while keeping his heart, the heart of the movie. Bad movies, of course, you want that Schadenfreude for, oh, haha, they tried to do this and they did terrible. But at the same time, there's also a lot of love that goes into this thing. You can see wow, that filmmaker really cared. They failed, but they cared. And it shows. It's, you know, like your, what was the movie with DeFranco in it? And it was about, the other bad movie. I had short-term memory loss. Sorry for my dementia, chat. Anyway, that Hollywood movie about the really, really bad, the Room, the really bad movie, doesn't work. It doesn't work in my mind. I don't like it because The Room stands on its own. You watch it, you go, oh my God, this is a film? And you're like, well, he tried to make something and he actually went through all the work to make a movie. That's a lot of work. It's very difficult to make a film. And the cool part about this new Neil Breen film is that some of the criticisms with him using green screen, I don't really mind if he uses green screen because it's funny, but it was a little overdone. And everybody's saying, oh, he used an AI voiceover. No, he just doesn't hire people that do good voiceovers. That's just how they sound. See, we got Kavorka Designs. YouTube is working. But philosophically, if you've ever looked up the plots of any Breen movies, you probably know that Breen would not really be pro using AI in his films. I hope not anyway. We're actually supposed to be looking over a little bit here. You guys are supposed to, yeah, just there. There we go. And it looks like he doesn't. It looks like all of it is genuine filmmaking. He's back at the community college, so maybe we'll get some fun, green screenies. And actors and not special effects. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. A-Team Marathon. I love the A-Team. I loved the A-Team as a kid. I loved MacGyver as a kid. It was occasionally on TV. Occasionally when you stay home from school, you'd be able to watch that stuff. I tried to watch a little bit of MacGyver, not recently, but 10 years ago, and it didn't hold up. Don't Meet Your Heroes. It didn't work for me. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe if I gave it a better chance watching the A-Team, maybe I'd like it a little bit more, but you watched MacGruber. No, I didn't watch any MacGruber. I didn't see that movie at all. What Was it good? I don't know. I totally missed the MacGyver parody movie. For the better. Yeah, I know. It was a Saturday Night Live sketch. Was that where that originated? I think so. Not sure, though. Not sure, though. Didn't watch it. This is technically supposed to be audio reactive, but I don't think it is. I think something weird happened to the audio reactive. Oh, maybe it is. Look at that. See, it's glitching around. Maybe it is audio reactive. It's just not sensitive enough. Yeah, so the very last step in this project is going to be me sitting here in a dark room going through the it's just... No, well, the movie was Netflix, but where did the... MacGruber came before the movie. I'm pretty sure. I think it's Lonely Island, isn't it? I think it was a Lonely Island thing. Anyway, the last part's going to be me sitting in a dark room, choosing presets for this thing, and then tuning and tweaking them so that they work better with this setup and they use less current, which is actually interesting because I think I don't have the tools to figure out how much current they're drawing in this system. I'm going to have to use this system to figure out what the minimal current draw is. Like this one wouldn't be good for on the dog because it wouldn't be visible from a car. Oh my God, I'm the hiccuping. I'm sorry. Any info about that satellite they launched that makes the solar panels? How exactly is it doing it? Sorry, a hair just blew by. Medium, it's put is on a roll, but the rest, how is it printed? It's building its own solar panels? That doesn't seem very... Or maybe they store the photovoltaics in such a way that it has to be assembled in some way that it's like rolling out the photovoltaics and putting the cells down individually from like a hopper. That's fascinating. I don't know how. I mean, just rolling out a solar like a flexi panel would be. Wouldn't that be more prudent? These are listen. I'm talking about it like it's a bad idea, but like these are professionals that like know how to engineer things, so they probably run the numbers and figure that this is the best. So my working through the kinks of the idea right now is like nothing compared to the actual work that they did in order to come up with something so crazy. So don't allow me to belittle the work of many. Why is there a completely straight hair? What's going on here? I guess it has other hairs that are just as straight as it. It's a mixed bag in this beard. I've got straight hairs, I've got curly hairs, I've got wavy hairs. Yeah. Crazy stuff. I saw a Shrek printer and it was unfortunately posted to the Discord, which butts right up against the rules of the Discord. It's right up there against the rules, and I go, any more? And I would be deleting that, and everybody would say I'm a bad person. They would come at me like, why is Bother so awful? This just went red. I just saw a red light from the ideal light. That means somebody subscribed to my channel. Twitch.tv, oh bother. Thank you for the sub. I like seeing red light. Magic String, thank you for the 3 months of tier 1 in advance. Well, now I can completely tank the quality of the stream because I have no incentive to keep things going nicely. Welcome to my 3-month break. No, thank you so much for the 3 months in advance. I will endeavor to earn it. I almost bit my tongue while doing that. That was a very close call. Why would streamer bites tongue while completely normally interacting with people and not doing anything weird? Dies. Which is against TOS. Not allowed to die. It's against TOS for me to die on stream. Should be against TOS for me to shock my dog collar, but we're doing it anyway. I had a rip-roaring static electricity event. I thought we were only just barely getting into static electricity season, but it's like, what is it in Celsius? Hold on, I'm gonna say the evil lady's name. What's the outside temperature in Celsius? -2 degrees Celsius outside. I was gonna tell her to shut the fuck up because she always takes the opportunity. Oh, you're talking to me now? Allow me to tell you about this feature. It's like, shut up. I think you can tell it to go into laconic mode and it'll stop. What is going on? Smith Clay subbed for no ads. Boy, they've been hitting those ads lately, haven't they? I've been just over and over again. Maybe it's just because the plugin that I have, I switched to Firefox so that all my crap would work so that I could actually use the internet. And one of them is a script that keeps Twitch from doing ads. Honestly, I've partnered with Twitch. How much money have I made them? Through you guys, through the 50-50 cut that I've got going on, which is not great for a creator. 50-50 is not a good cut, man. YouTube is better than this. Anyway, hey, what's up, Madamu? So I made them a lot of money. As a little kickback, as a little bit of appreciation for the amount of money that I've made Twitch, it would be nice if they would kill ads, and they used to. And then they decided, how many partners do we have? It's like way too many people. Let's give them ads. So everybody gets ads. Everyone gets it. Hate it. uBlock Lite. I'm using Origin and a little scripty in Tamper Monkey, I think. ADB Plus. Okay. Yeah, you're using, okay, those are interesting tools. Maybe I should be moving over to those. They took my fucking money, man. Yeah. Oh, was that the lyrics? That's, I didn't even hear if those are the lyrics. I've got it playing out of two little speakers over here, my two little Amazon Basic speakers at a low volume, so I can't quite make out whether or not, see, normally I have it coming out of my M Audio super cheap speakers from 20 years ago. At low enough volume that I can at least make out something, but one more level unlocks for gift train. Oh, we got a treasure train. What the hell? What is a gift train? Weird. Issue with Twitch ads is they're using the same stream thread as the main video. Yeah, and then they give you that mini player, and so the script just blows up the mini player and gives you your audio back. Honestly, if Twitch had that little window in the corner be the ad, I would be totally fine with it, but then they don't get the engagement that advertisers want. They want to take over your whole screen, and it sucks because I hate it. I hate everything about it. I cannot abide. I philosophically disagree with that level of advertisement. Little windows that might turn on and animate in the background. If it's like 3D printer filament, I might go, hey, what are they trying to tell me? And click on it. Maybe. You know, I've done that before. I got a 3D printer filament ad, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. That they're big enough to advertise. If they kept it down low like that, but instead you've got like Pfizer advertising for you on Twitch. I don't think the big drug companies have stuck to TV because all the old people watch TV. So you get things like, Raid Shady Legends and stupid shit like that on Twitch. They should be, if they were a little bit more targeted towards our generation, I might actually not be totally mad with them. But interrupting content is just the pits. Twitch was supposed to be a platform where we could avoid doing that by directly supporting creators, but it's not. Care to share the extension? You gotta look it up. There's a Reddit thread for it. Just like Twitch ad block Tamper Monkey script, and you'll find it. I posted a new app and Google approved it. Skips the auto pause when watching for extended time and auto plays. Good for playlist music use. Interesting. That's not a bad one. So wait, it skips the auto pause when watching for extended time. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. You wish, well, if anybody's looking for that kind of thing, yeah. You can also block ads by proxying your stream through a Russian VPN. It's Belarus, or what was the other one? There was another place where advertising like that is banned. And boy howdy, man, banning prescription drug ads like they do in every other country in the world except for mine. Prescription drug ads. I mean, I guess that makes sense. They're all rich white people vacations. These fucking people who are in separate bathtubs in a field holding hands and going on a drive by the lake to go buy organic vegetables and shit, all in slow motion because the drug keeps you in kind of a delirious state, I guess. I don't know. Some of them are like waking nightmares. Everything's moving slow and nothing is quite right. What's been fun is that AI is starting to get into advertisements now. So advertisements are all looking like airbrushed dog shit that doesn't move at the right speed. There have been entire ads that have been done in AI, including the progressive car insurance ad, where the animals, anthropomorphic people are driving cars in traffic, and it looks exactly like you'd think it would. It's just dog shit. It's so bad. It's so bad. Although the Coke truck ones are kind of funny, because Coke's just like, yeah, great, fire everybody, let's use AI. And they used kind of bad AI at the beginning of all that AI image generation stuff. And so you get these things that just look bad. They just look very, very bad in AI. And the configurations on the truck wheels like changes from ad to ad. Oh, it's great. Some of them are very fake. I had to build that extension too using YouTube playlists for live stream. I need to somehow get into, what is that? We're talking about memories? What do we do? Or recipes? I don't see any other. Anyway, I was completely derailed. I completely got derailed by that. Anyway, yeah, it's funny to watch this stuff get into advertisements. Advertisements become less and less worth watching at all. If nobody really worked on it to generate that content, they just typed in a prompt, then I should be under no obligation to watch it, because everyone's wasting everyone's time. You know, if you put some artistry into your ad, or you're trying to target something very specific to my generation, like I never thought I'd see an advertisement for 3D printer filament, why should I spend my time on it? Oh, yeah, the recipes shared in here are not going to get to, like, I'm not going to remember that by the end of a 3-hour stream full of me being very attentive towards everybody's comments, but having it just randomly come up in a comment, it's like so derailing and off topic. It's crazy. No, my big recipe thing was, and anybody from New Orleans or the South, I've already cleared this with Dewey. He said this is a perfectly legitimate recipe. He said this was a completely legitimate and very authentic recipe. I made a shrimp po' boy, which is nothing but an insult to the actual shrimp po' boy. I made a shrimp scampi from a YouTube recipe that was slightly different than my usual shrimp scampi recipe. My usual shrimp scampi recipe had certain steps that I went through, and apparently they weren't quite right. Hello, words. The brown cow. Anyway, so my steps weren't quite right. I should have been putting pasta water into the mixture that I was making for the scampi, and actually doing that by drawing the pasta directly over. But I followed a proper recipe this time, not to the T, but I did follow it, and it was excellent. So I've completely changed my whole methodology. There's leftovers, and so there's a lot of leftover shrimp. So I made a po' boy, and a po' boy, it's a particular sandwich. I don't know the history. You got to look it up on your own, look it up to know what it is. There's a cafe near here that does a really good fried shrimp po' boy that I love. And it's basically fried shrimp, remoulade, lettuce, pickles, good pickles, and, you know, like a soft sort of hoagie bun. Is there anything else on it? That's it. It's a very simple sandwich. And so I decided that I would make, out of the leftover fried in butter and garlic shrimp, so that's a violation, a po' boy, which means ranch dressing, Tabasco sauce, forgot pickles, shrimp that had been fried in butter and garlic, bag lettuce, and a hamburger bun. And then Dewey threatened to make a cheesesteak out of taco meat, so that would have been shots across the bow for the culinary experts in their own regions. That was lunch. It was actually really good. It was not a po' boy though. It wasn't a po' boy. At least I didn't put cheese on it, you know. But any not fundamentalists. What am I trying to say? Purists, food purists would get rankled by my my culinary improvising. Ad hoc? What's ad hoc? Wait a minute. Odd hoc. When necessary or needed, created or done for a particular purpose as necessary. So bespoke and ad hoc are very similar. Yeah, electric dog collar. Blinking rainbow. Oh God. Bouncing balls. Yeah. Look at that. Cool. I can't stress how different this looks in person than, you know, on the camera. Look at all the heat this thing's generating. It's only warm, it's not hot. The Lepton thermal imager really kind of oversells the temperature of stuff because it auto ranges. Bump, 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 bump. We're going to try to follow through with the code today. I got so close. The stuff that we were coding last stream compiled. There were only very minor corrections that I had to do. I had to kind of look through some stuff and make some minor corrections. We got to figure out what's working and what isn't in that code, because I was able to compile it and then load it up onto the micro, which is what this thing is running right now. And everything came up, all of those improvisational overrides that we put into here in order to get it into a working state from the get-go worked. The only thing that didn't work was the pin that I chose wasn't coming up in the list of pins that I could choose. So something weird is going on with the isOK function. Something's coming up weird with the isOK function, and we got to kind of get to the bottom of it. We'll have to figure out how to strategize that. We'll go over it. It is cold here, like to the point where walking on grass is crunchy. It'll be kind of, we've seen flurries in the air today. I was walking Willow and I saw a couple little snowflakes flitter by. But man, she is so comfortable in cold weather. It has been colder than this right now. It's -5 Celsius right now outside right now. And I think we've been in like, there was one day when it dipped really, really far to the point where it was like painful to be outside. I mean, I'm in the Northeast. Our latitude is shared with Spain. Longitude, the long ones are longitude, right? Which one are, oh God, latitude, all these supplementary brain things. Like listen, I have Google and I Google things in order to keep myself from sounding unintelligent. Imagine if I used AI to just solve everything for me. How base level and idiotic would I just sit here drooling. I hate these AI overviews. I keep it on this computer because it's funny, because it's oftentimes very stupid. Why is this lagging so much? Please pull up the image. My internet has been beans lately. I don't know what's going on with this. What's my bit rate? 5,000. We got a normal bit rate. Okay, so the ones that I would think the long ones would be the ones that go around the belly, you know? Because our oblate spheroid would be longer in that direction. Yeah, but apparently latitude. But okay, we share latitude with Spain. We share longitude with all kinds of crap. But whatever. I thought the long ones would be the bands, the horizontal bands, but they're not. So lat versus longe. Lats, my lat muscles. I can't think of a good way to kind of cement that into my brain. I don't think balls are audio reactive. I don't know about the IRL ones. Let's find one with DJ light. I mean, that's something, although it's not very close to the speakers, so we're not getting exact music interactions with this. If I get quiet? No. Pull an Uo's lab and make a ball speaker. He does a lot with his balls, doesn't he? More power to him. Frequency map is probably not going to be all that exciting. Frequency matrix. I don't understand. He's cornered the market on ball engineering or ball engineering. Scrotineering. Gonadoneering. I don't think I have it in me to do what he does. to put my balls where my mouth is and actually test some of this stuff. Gravity frequency. It's not, some of these are not helped by the fact that this strip goes down and then back. And so it's folded on itself, which is why we get things coming from this side and moving over like they are, because it's supposed to, on the strip, it's supposed to go outwards. Gravimeter. I'm sad that we had to drop the accelerometer, because now that I can get into this thing a little bit more, like get into the actual code of it, I can make it so that we would have the accelerometer looking at where gravity, where down is. And so I could have a little light bar that stays facing down when it can, so that Willow has a little flashlight when she's outside. Being loud and drunk is quite popular. He gets a lot of viewers. Yeah, he cozied up with some very large streamers, and they actually accepted him. And it's great to see, because that's very hard to do on Twitch. It is extremely, extremely difficult to build an audience on Twitch. I had Rabaz helping me with mine, and helping me with like contract stuff too. He's been extremely generous and a very good friend. But that's the part of it, is his viewers during the pandemic were like adamant about getting me partnered for some reason, and I kept up, the schedule in order to get them on here. And then I had Burn the Subs, and Burn the Subs was a huge draw. But he's got, raids from 1,000 viewer channels to get eyes on, and he does, very crazy, boisterous, fun to watch content. He's able to shrink the project down into like one stream, and does stuff that like barely holds together and runs, but it does something funny. And that there's a lot of power in that. And I would love to do that. I've found that I just can't drop my standards for my own projects that far, and I don't want to damage all the stuff that I have, because he streams in like a basement on like a table that's been on fire more than I have. And yeah. Teach me the ways of Fusion. We will do that soon. We will do a Fusion 360 stream, because I don't know what the status of my license is, so I'd like to get ahead of that. Yeah, condensing projects into one stream, like if I find his title is something other than dipping his balls into stuff, I will sometimes watch the stream if I find it really interesting, and usually it's taping a battery and a motor to something, and it's fun. And I would love to do that kind of stuff. I guess like video paused, continue watching. Oh really? Has that hit this computer? Jeez. Oh, this is a different mix. We're in Rally House for Cruising into the Void. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I guess we're getting to starting time. We gotta start troubleshooting soon. It's actual work, because that's what it takes to make something that's cool. Instead of something that's sort of a harebrained idea. We've done some like really cool high-level engineering stuff that was also, juvenile. We got a 600 millimeter linear actuator. I didn't buy this. I wish I had the money to buy a couple more of them, because then I could make a big simulator setup that moves around. But anyway, it's something that I got that fell off the back of a truck. Literally, it's got scratches on it, and so the company bought another one, and then that thing sat in an engineering office for like a century until they closed down the office and were clearing it out. And me and my buddy were there, and they said, "Hey, you do stuff with electricity. You want this?" You don't say no to a 600 millimeter linear servo. You don't say no to a 600 millimeter linear servo. The thing's worth like $6,000. I don't know what I could get for it on eBay. I could probably get 1,000 for it on eBay, but it's sitting back there. I want to have something to do with it. So we decided to hook it up to a $500 universal three-phase motor controller, something Granite Devices makes, that I had to buy because we were dealing with all kinds of, various linear servos for stuff. And so we hooked it up to that, and I had it running a test thing where it would just extend and retract, clamped it down to the desk over here. I took a block of wood, because I don't feel like getting a, 8mm hole punched in my body, put the block of wood on it, and I leaned into it like a linebacker, and it pushed me all the way back. And I'm like 207 at the time, 270 pounds. So it just threw me back and then retracted again. Crazy stuff. I would love to find a use for that, but that was sort of the one stream. Here's something cool. Let's do something cool, and then you have a physical thing at the very end to kind of tie it all up in a bow. That's a cool project, and it's something that I should look out for more on this stream. I almost got my hands on a whole laser cutting table that was accidentally connected to 480 volts. The power supply was probably the only thing damaged. Yeah, because the laser power supplies are not that sensitive on something like that. It's not like a diode laser where you could suddenly just kill the laser. And then it would probably just be like a couple fuses, maybe? That's probably all it would be, it's like 2 fuses. I think the DC supplies are right, because if you hit something with 480 instead of like 220, that's such a huge difference that I think the safety mechanisms that are actually there to prevent exactly that thing will actually work. You're not going to deal with the situation where like the DC power supply is like, "Wah!" and then it outputs all this stuff to your circuit. That's not going to happen. What'll happen is your inrush suppressors will stop everything from killing it, and your fuses will explode. I would think that would probably have been the problem first, but you know, it varies from thing to thing. But like any sort of like a reasonably designed thing, yeah, the metal oxide varistors, the inrush current limiters, they're there for exactly that purpose. They're there for exactly that purpose in case your power lines go blah, 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 and like send something scary at it. They'll go and short, and then they'll explode. So that's what they're there for. That may or may not, yeah, you totally could probably still use something like that, unless they actually saw fire coming out of the thing. In which case, you would just simply brush off all of the ashes and replace some stuff until it started working, going from the power supply to the actual microcontroller that's running it. Although technically, if something goes wrong for like a millisecond, your microcontrollers can also blow up on any sort of reasonably sensitive system. That happens to us more because we do something stupid down the line. Instead of hooking it up to proper power, or we accidentally turn on the power supply and it's at 12 volts instead of 6, and then we're hooked up directly to the microcontroller with no capacitors, nothing, then the microcontroller goes and dies. But in a professional system, you'd think it would be a little bit more resilient, right? But the microcontroller is very, very sensitive, so I don't know, I wouldn't put it past. I fixed an industrial inkjet printer with similar death sentence. The only thing dead was a smoked MOV. See, that's why they're there. That's what they're good at, I guess. I have all these MOVs and I have nothing to do with them because we never put safeties on any of our stuff. I'm never worried about like huge inrush currents on our devices. If I ever need them, I've got them. I guess if I need to repair a piece of equipment, I haven't had the money to buy like derelict equipment. But the last time we bought derelict equipment, we did really good. You were there for that. I'm just going to say it for the benefit of the people that don't know. I wanted to try out sort of a flagship goop printer, one of these ultraviolet printers that you pour the goop in and then it lowers the platform and it does these tiny little layers until you build up something awesome like a set of translucent power armor from Fallout with like perfect detail. The problem is with the goop printer, I found all it's good at is printing figurines, and I'm not, listen, I despise Funko Pops. And then people go, oh, you hate Funko Pops because they're commercial? Well, what about U2s? I'm like, what about U2s? I found a whole thread on this. It was in the Funko Pop Crazies subreddit, and they were like, oh, you hate Funko Pops? U2s exists. And I'm like, I hate both of those things. Like, what is wrong with your brain? Hate is a strong word, but the sort of, what would you call it? Blind minimalistic consumerism, blatant. It's UTOOZ. They're just figurines that you can endlessly configure to look like YouTubers. You don't do the configuration. they do, and then they sell them, and you buy them, and you keep them in the box so they lose their value. It's Beanie Babies all over again, except more cynical and manipulative, and I don't know, all that stuff. Anyway, so that reminds me a lot of this SLA printer. If you're doing like tabletop games and you want game pieces that represent what's, you know, what your characters are and stuff like that, like this would be a great investment. If you're doing Warhammer and you don't want to, you know, have to put on a barrel and go beg for change in the streets, yeah, these printers are really good at that. For engineering, I don't know. Engineering, I think the ability to print very strong PETG has been wonderful. There are very few things that I've been able to engineer and actually use on that SLA or on the Goop printer. Most notably so would be this RC car body, which is kind of amazing. And I want to print one of these translucent and play with the airbrush and see if I can get it to look like, you know, a car with clear windows, and we can put LEDs in this thing and make it actually like light up properly. But this is like giant man baby stuff, right? This is giant man baby stuff. This is not like the typical engineering that we do here, engineering with a purpose. So anyway, the SLA printer has sat for quite a while, but that was one of the key, let's buy something broken and fix it. So I probably shouldn't have sent them a message that said, hey, I'm going to try to repair this, and I'm a YouTuber, here's my channel. I gave them full credit because they're a great place. You can buy, it was some seller on eBay that had broken printers, and it looked like the printers had just been run ragged until they didn't run, right? And so something breaks. There's not a lot of moving parts in one of these Goop printers. It's basically like three things. The motor that lifts and lowers the bed, the LED that does ultraviolet, and the screen and the computer. 5 things. Very few things though. And so we bought it, and it turns out, I don't know, somebody left like resin in it, and it got rattled all over the place. So we had to do a like major alcohol resin cleanup, and I got resin in my mouth, which is bad. I'm probably gonna get mouth cancer. But anyway, I got resin in my mouth. That wasn't the first time or the last time that it would ever happen again. We did the full cleanup. We got it nice and clean. Looked at the notes that they put on it, and I think they gave me an easy to fix one because they said LED flickers, right? The UV light flickers. We found that after fully disassembling the thing, right? Looking at the main board, the power wires for the UV LED go into 2 screw terminals, and one of them was a little bit manky. And I just, oh, okay. So I took the wires out. I think we put ferrules on them. Ferrules are really good to get for wire stuff. Put the proper size ferrules on it, crimp them, put them back into the screw terminals, close the screw terminals. I have a 1 generation old flagship SLA printer. Awesome. So I got that thing, and I got it running, and I got it like printing all kinds of cool stuff. But that was one of the only times I was able to actually like go and get something that was broken and fix it. I used to do that all the time, right? I used to like often be in a situation where somebody was moving or getting rid of something, and it was technically broken but sat in the corner, and they would be like, you want it? And I'm like, yeah, sure. That used to come to me all the time. I've got all kinds of stuff like that previously, but not recently. The landfill's hunger for plastics that never degrade. Yeah, really. I can't believe everybody just fell head over heels, and like people were so desperate to spend money and collect things relevant to their hobbies, and so making the Marvel movies that they like their personality has become extremely lucrative. And this just is a blatant sort of superficial, very surface level version of that. I mean, you just look at it and you're like, that is so blindly corporate, pandery. It bothers me. It bothers me that people love it so much, but I guess that's what it is. What it is. I'm just going to talk about it like it's totally alien to me. Even though I grew up in a generation where all of our cartoons and media were literally just advertisements for action figures. Like, that's all they were. Like, in some cases. I mean, people still really like Transformers. That's been coming up in my feeds lately, is all the... Because according to when I was born, I should love Transformers. I'm not that big of a fan of Transformers. I'm really not. But apparently there's some actual plot there in the cartoon that people talk about. So I believe them. I'm not gonna test their claim by watching any of it. but you grew up in the real world. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I was raised by the TV. From a not so recent happenstance, resin is not a milk replacement for your cereal. Yes. What I did is I was cleaning the resin and working with it without gloves on. And what happens when you don't wear gloves, even if you wash very carefully, your fingernails and your cuticles are going to pick up things like resin. And then as a person who bites their fingernails, I was sitting there biting my thumbnail. Oh, a nice meaty thumbnail for me to bite off. And I got bad flavor, very bad flavor all of a sudden. I watched Transistors for the plot. Ain't that a job for power electricians? That's what I did in my architectural job. the co-op job that I got in college for the architectural firm, I would look at transformers on a plot, because you had to have them a certain distance from the wall. They had to be on their own concrete pad, and you had to have a way to get to the front panel from 10 feet away. Because in order to disconnect the transformer from the main line, you have to have a 10-foot fiberglass pole that you shove into its cloaca and twist. That was a requirement, so I had to make sure that those requirements were all met in order for the architect to sign off on it. Not the current to voltage plot. No, we didn't do those. I think we went over them. Microcontroller. I wouldn't touch that transformer with a 10-foot fiberglass pole. With a 30.5-foot pole. Hi. Hello. Hi. How's it going? We have all the regulars here who are fun to talk to. All the rest of you that are not here, you're not fun to talk to. You're not fun to talk to. Everybody here is fun to talk to, though. So I've gone a little bit over time in introing by 4 minutes, believe it or not. I don't really try to stick to an hour. I really try to stick to me chewing the fat with random stuff that's been happening to me lately, because it's fun to do. And I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit of an extrovert, says the Twitch streamer. I'm actually kind of an introvert, to be honest, but it swings back and forth. I mean, like, you know, I go to giant raves and then I sit here and talk to you guys yelling at the furniture, and then I sit at my desk without talking to anybody for a while. This is where that whole MBTI testing is literally just horoscopes for business people. It's completely meaningless. That none of the factors on there are psychologically evaluated to be anywhere near true. And so these introverts have taken being antisocial to like an extreme because they're justified in their behavior. That's not how people work. People need to be social. You don't swing from introvert to extrovert. They're just things that describe the way you are in the current state. They're not opposites. I hate MBTI. I hate it. I tested as INTJ and then INTP and then I have 2P. I don't give they suck. I had to go through a whole training on this for consulting at when I was at Booz Allen a million years ago. It sucks. Anyway, sorry, I'm ranting about that. That's not what we're working on today. What we're working on today is, guess what? The dog collar, because this project has been long. It's been like 2 months working on this stupid thing with LEDs, and I keep succeeding. I keep running into problems, and I keep solving them. But it takes me a while to solve these problems, but I keep solving them. Why do I keep solving all these problems? Why am I winning so much? I need to finish this thing, and I need to run into an issue that is not solvable with maximum amounts of effort that take time. So what's going on with this project is that I have once more succeeded in coding up my own user mod so that I can turn off the radio on this thing. But I'm having a little trouble. I have uploaded the code that we went over last stream to this microcontroller, and it works. It works. The microcontroller works just fine. Everything's perfect. It works great. I can put it to sleep by holding down the button, and then it doesn't use any current. It's using nothing. It's using microamps to keep itself alive during the interim when it's not in use. The only problem is the thing that I built where you plug it in and it turns off the radio does not work. I should be able to plug this thing in And I worked out a circuit, a very simple circuit, in order to keep 5 volts on the pin that we're sensing from, because there's no internal battery senses on this for some stupid reason. Seed, you're not stupid. I know you made the choices you made for a very good reason. I just have to be sensational when I'm introducing my project. What happens is we have to have an external pin where we sense the voltage. So what I've done is on the pin that takes voltage when you plug it in. Now here's the thing, Bother, couldn't you just figure out whether or not there is a serial connection to the microcontroller, a nice serial connection through that USB port, and then you can digitally see if that serial connection is open and use that to turn on the internal radio, because we have default off internal radio. It turns on when you plug in an external source. This is vital for the use of a portable device. I can't digitally look to see whether or not it's got a TX and RX connected, because then I would have to plug it into the computer in order to charge it. What I've done is I've kept this open so that if I plug it into an external power source that is just a USB-C power source, it'll still be able to charge the computer, charge the battery off of 5 volts. The way we do that is by putting a very high ohms resistor. This one is in fact 400 kilo ohms. For those that have memorized the color bands, congratulations, you're a nerd. You've learned some kind of an obsolete technology. I hate the color bands on resistors. They're always a little bit ambiguous from somebody who's got slight green yellow color blindness. I hate them. But in this case, we have a 1% 400k ohm resistor connected to the pin that sees 5 volts when plugged in. I looked at the schematic for the Seed Studio ESP32C3, and there is a wonderful little diode that keeps our 3 volts from being influenced by anything happening on this 5 volt pin. You plug it into external power, this pin will go to 5 volts. So what we do is we take that 5 volts and we reduce the current by an extreme amount, and we connect it to this pin here. What that does is it only allows a trickle of electrons to get through here, so it's not enough current to blow up our Seed Studio Zhao. This thing is 3 volts only, but in addition to that, what I do is I clamp that line to 3 volts using something that we learned with synthesizers, which is to put a diode on the line. Now the diode is allowing that extra current to bleed through and get in here. So it'll flow in the direction of the arrow, which this black line indicates the band that the arrow points into. And so what's happening is this tiny little trickle of excess voltage is getting in here, and the excess is getting bled off by the diode to the tune of like microamps. So we've got a tiny little bit of extra current at the expense of keeping that pin clamped to 3 volts. Because again, if the voltage on both sides of the diode are the same, current isn't flowing, and if it's less, then it will block. Oh boy, what did I just do? Oh no, sorry. The thing is in a mode where it's blinking. I was scratching my eyes because I got like a sleepy seed in my eye. And so when I was scratching my eyes, I clanked up against the side here and made a big noise, right? I made that noise. Maybe you could hear that. And then this thing flashed at the same time and turned off. I thought I shorted something out and broke it. Anyway, so that little clamp right there is used oftentimes in like synthesizer circuits to keep an outside signal from killing your device. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm bleeding that 7 volts out to 3 volt clamp. Hold on, I'm gonna drink. Bleeding the voltage out and clamping it at 3 volts. Anything in excess of 3 volts then flows to the diode. And is the diode getting warm? All I see is radiant heat from the microcontroller, which really isn't that much heat, but it is running its internal radio. So where's the diode? It's right here. Yeah, so that would be bright if on thermals, if anything, we're actually using up too much current. So what that does is that pin is now limited to 3 volts, and then there's only 3 volts on it. When I unplug this, that 5 volts there is exposed to an internal 100 kilo ohm resistor to ground. So that eventually bleeds out through the 400K. It takes like half a second for it to bleed all the way down to 0, but it does reach 0. So we have a pin where we can actually, well, it reaches half a volt according to my multimeter, but we actually have a pin where we can sense whether or not this thing is plugged in and then turn off the internal radio. But unfortunately in my testing, you can see here that it is plugged into the computer, and if I move it to noise meter, it transitions over to noise meter. So something ain't right. Something ain't right still. My own thing isn't running. Actually, wait, it's still connected if I disconnect it. So now it should shut off its internal radio. But if I then go to PS Sonic Boom, it transitions to Sonic Boom. So there's still something not working, right? Is microcontroller a word for a little bit of control? No, it's like a small manager. Okay, so there's still something broken in my code. Listen, I don't know what I'm doing with Platform IO. I don't know what I'm doing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the debugging stuff. We're gonna discover how to use the debugging stuff. We're gonna discover how to use debugging and actually get this thing to run. Basically, the way the program works is it's a couple little checks, because this is like the last step, right? When I can get this feature to run, then we have all of our working features on this thing, and we can start creating the physical circuit to button it up, and I can move on to a different project for tomorrow. Because I want to mess with this car seat that my brother gave me. My Christmas gift came early. I've got a BMW car seat sitting in the other room with a fully armed airbag in it, and it is static season. So that would be a fun stream to do, hopefully without explosions. Static electricity can set off detonators. I don't think it would necessarily make this one go off. Typically, your airbag system is buried pretty deep within a car, and you're not, like, your static discharges are going to go to like big body panels and stuff like that. So you're not in that much danger of, like, if I'm reaching behind the seat or I'm reaching under the seat and I accidentally get like a random static shock and the airbag goes and breaks my nose. That's not really going to happen. But in our case, we are going in to specifically remove the airbag and short its wires together so that if I hit it with static, it doesn't go pop and I don't get punched in the face, because it's a shoulder airbag that comes out of the seat. So we're going to work on that tomorrow. I really want to work on that tomorrow. And then we need to assess what I need in order to create a steering, like a sim rig, with the extra monitor that I have. I have an extra monitor. We can put that on the sim rig. I could use some other cursed screen to put chat on and stuff like that. That's going to be really cool. And I'll start working on that soon. That'll be sort of a background project that we can work on together. And of course, burn the subs. But anyway, let's solve this thing so that I can get it off of my to-do list, right? So in Platform IO, we have these debug print lines. USB power sense pin allocation failed. Debug print line. I put them in here. I don't know how to use them. So I would like to unsupported digital input pin. This is not, wait. Bool pin is valid, check pin. If check pin is there, what is, oh, if def config target ESP32C3. So that should run, because IDF target ESP32C3 I think is part of the one that we copied. So we'll just check to see if these printouts are in our debug. And so what I've done is I've rewritten pin is valid, and I've made it a slightly different order of operations, and I've given it some comments and stuff, and I've made it also check to see where the pin owner. So pin manager get pin owner check pin is equal to pin owner unspecified. I wonder if I don't need, I need that in there, otherwise it errors out. I had to do pin owner unspecified for some reason in order for this object to be comparable to this object. So this might be something that is eluding us, because what I did is I set the default to be pin 23, and in checking over the program to see if it worked, I found that in the settings, we go into config and we go to user mods, all of my settings are here, and it worked. It was actually pretty cool. It's just nothing is happening. I don't think the true conditions are lining up for our own program, but it was crazy. Like Platform IO is checking so much of my work over, unlike the original Arduino IDE, that doing something this like nebulous, sort of something that I didn't like understand, like putting stuff into settings and stuff, actually worked. It's looking over my shoulder enough that it was able to do that, which is pretty cool. I don't super love platform IO, but it's neat that it does that. But anyway, so the USB pin 23 not available on the list, and I don't know why. Because 23 was definitely what we were plugged into. These are GPIO numbers from the Studio Zhao's input and output. So we were plugged into this one right here, SDIO data 3, GPIO 23, serial clock, or D5. Because we're programming in Platform IO, I guess GPIO 23 was the appropriate name for this thing, going off of GPIO numbers. I don't know if D0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think that's supported. So anyway, GPIO 23 is what I put down. That's this pin, but then it didn't show up in our list. And our list is populated by using this thing to say return true or return false. So if our UM unspecified, because that's what we're identifying as, we are UM unspecified because we're a custom user mod. So user mod unspecified is equal to the pin owner of the number that we're checking over, then we return true. That means that, yeah, we've got that pin, put it on the list. And that way, is pin okay? Because I'm not sure if the pin's not okay to use, that means something else is using it. And if we're using it, we want it to be on our list, because then the situation could occur where if we're populating that list, the pin we're using is then rejected because is pin okay says, no, it's not okay for you to use that pin. It's already been allocated by UM unspecified. So if I load up my settings, do you guys understand that? I'm sorry, I'm going over this a lot because I don't think I'm explaining it properly. Is pin okay simply checks to see if anybody's using it. And in the pin thing, you have to register your pin and then you can use it. So we register our pin, and then if we check to see if our pin's okay, it'll come up as being unallocable because we're already using it. But if we're already using it, we want it to come up in the settings for that pin. I might just have to just populate the pin numbers and let the user sort that out instead of having all these weird checks. But anyway, so yeah, if we're already using it, it says true. Yeah, you can put it in the list. If we can actually use it, then it puts it in the list. If it's anything else. It's these weird microcontroller scenarios where the way things happen. What's up, Colin? Where if you're doing stuff a certain way, you can like lock yourself out. And so we would be able to lock ourselves out of the settings because when it populates the list, when it tries to make that page of settings, it won't be able to use that number. And so that's anyway. It's possible that I could put in the place where it creates that a check to see what pin is currently assigned and put that in the list. Maybe. I don't know, maybe that's bad practice, because what happens if I'm thinking about too many of the scenarios, just letting the user double up on a pin is probably the best way to go about it. So we might have to get rid of all this, but I've got some serial prints in this stuff to see what's going on. Let's add debug print lines to this. Like the end if is if def config ESP32, otherwise unsupported digital pin. If that, else false, and then end the if, and then send the debug, and then return false. Huh. There's going to be a lot of these. There's going to be a lot of these in the, because it checks 40 pins. So let's see. Debug print line. We using pin. Debug print line. Let's see. Error. Pin is not okay. Oh wait, pin is okay. Pin is not okay. So if this is false, then we get down here. or if this just fails. And this fails, the pin owner is us. Or no, if the pin owner is not us and it's not okay, then do this. I think I've got mostly all the debugs that I need. So let's go over setup now, because that was sorry, the setup. Let's go over the loop. I'm gonna bounce. This is getting too complicated for my drunk brain. Yeah, that's all right. We'll be able to test the microcontrollers soon. Celia Russell, just subscribed to the stream. 97 months. I feel like you sub like every, that's, well, 97 months. That's very, very kind of you. I really appreciate that very, very much. That's super awesome of you. We've got some long-standing subs. Here, let's do this so that this is a little bit more narrow. We can pull this back over. Just hide those because I don't need to see them right now. Pull this back a little bit. Okay, there we go. Oh wait, we've got an Imgur link. I saw Benji streaming today, and he tried to open up an Imgur link, and it said that he had to like submit a blood sample or something in order to prove his age. It was like this really, really bad, like image blocked kind of thing. It was horrifying. Ready for Christmas, but not. That's a Calvin and Hobbes ism. Doing horrifying snowman battles. All right, so anyway, we're going through the sort of setup and loop. We went through that function there that I think, well, I don't know. I mean, is pin okay? We need to verify that that function is working. So this will help us do that if we get, depending on what we get out of our debug prints. So allocating USB power sense pin in our setup. USB sense pin allocation succeeded, failed, and then the pin mode is set here. Setting USB power pin mode. Okay, so that does that, and then it finishes, and then we go to our loop. If enabled off mode, last loop time is equal to 0. Debug print line. Reset. We're going to reset USB check loop time. Basically what I'm doing is all the states that my software can get into, I'm giving it a debug print line. That might be too verbose and we might have a lot of text to go over when I'm done this, because it's going to like run some of these functions 40 times in a loop. And so it'll be all of this this garbage that goes out of the serial port, but it'll tell us what's functioning where. That's the traditional way to debug, and you probably could put fewer print lines in. I know this is going to be extraordinarily verbose when we actually go to debug this. We're going to get all kinds of information that we don't need. It's going to be buried. We're going to have to look for like USB in this giant text wall. Everybody's been sick for 2 weeks and I've been feeling great. Everybody else is great. Woke up today, felt like I was laying in a waterbed that was leaking. I had 5 showers today. I'm still freezing, but to warm feet and my nose make noises I've never heard before. Oh no, that sucks. It just got cold here, so I'm always in a contest with the second person of 3 to wake up in the morning, and I think my going into the shower prompts them to then go in the shower, and then I don't get hot water. So I've been taking colder showers as of late. Really makes it feel this cold to the bone. It's like legitimately cold here. Not for you guys. For you Scandinavians, you guys are probably used to much colder scenarios. This is like a fall day to you, but it is -5 degrees Celsius outside right now. I just got over this year's pestilence. Afrin benzocaine cough drops help. Oof. My inability to pronounce any of that has now affected my... I was considering if I wanted to use digital LEDs on this thing, because they've got very small WS2812s, which would mean I'd only need 1 pin to communicate to all of my lighting. And I might do that, but that would require us to make another microcontroller project. We'd have to do like an ATtiny85 running its own version of fast LED, and then looking at the various pins for the radio, because we could control these from the radio by just having a pin on the radio go high and then connect it directly to that pin, which may be the way that I end up doing it. But these are so small. Probably not fun to solder to, but they're so tiny. I could hide them in every part, and they're bright enough to actually give us like good light. So I could totally have the tail lights turn yellow. It's not cold here. It's 8 p.m. and 6C today. Yeah, is that warm for December there? I hate sick. Most times I need to choose between painkillers or take what helps you get over being sick. Oh, do they run into each other? That's not good. This is going to be so verbose that I don't know. We're not going to be able to like run with it. Let's put one in here. And then let's put one in here. And that one we're not going to check because the radio is just in the right state. And we've started it so it's true, stop it so it's false. What just happened? When debugging code, I wrote and had, wait, oh, why did I stop talking when I stopped? When debugging code, I wrote and had, when debugging code I wrote, and had no idea what the issue, I put printf statements on every line. Yeah, I mean, you can also like run your code in Platform IO. You can step through your code, and I never do that with microcontrollers, but apparently that's a very useful tool. I've never really like back before I knew anything about microcontrollers, when I was at a co-op job, the professionals would actually step through their code and figure out where it was going wrong and be able to correct like pretty weird nebulous things that were happening in the code that would cause things like random resets. They were able to use those kinds of tools. We have those tools with Arduino now. They've put them in. It's taken a big effort, but they've put them in, and Platform IO is well incapable of doing so. But I never really learned how to use them. So we're doing sort of 10,000 print lines, and those 10,000 print lines will cause absolute fucking chaos with the serial prints. We're probably going to have to very quickly go Control-A, Control-C, and throw it in Notepad in order to see what's going on at all. But I don't know. It's just what I'm used to. Is like, hey, it needs to be in this state. I'll print something out. I don't think we need one on the exception here. Sleep delay not defined. And then we do all of our add to configs and overrides, which I think are fine. Except this function is going to throw out quite a few debug things. It's not that difficult. I actually use it daily at work programming Java applications. One day I will try it out. I think it'd be useful for me to know. I just never have interacted with it. I've never needed it before, and I should absolutely, be able to do that kind of step stuff. But in this case, we're just doing serial prompts. How do we enable debug? I don't know. I'm going to look that up now, because I think we've stepped through everything that my program is supposed to do. I just don't know. WLED debug. Set a breakpoint, read the variables, and step over to it. I don't even know what that is. WLED supports multiple protocols over serial. Serial is available USB on most boards, GPIO for TX and RX. Don't care about the pins. Add a light TPM, JSON over serial, improv, other. Send lowercase v character to obtain the ID of installed WLED version. LED data query. To get the colors currently displayed by the LEDs, send an L. What about the other debugs? Changing the baud rate. Two main methods for changing baud rate. Configure the app under sync interface. This setting will persist, and WLED will use a specified baud rate. What's the default? 115200. Debug. Compile with DWLED debug. Okay, cool. Let's grab that. And that's a platform IO override. Bonk. And so at the very middle of this thing, 460, 800. What the hell? Update, sauce good, eyes bad, forgot to wash hands. Just like with the resin, just like the same way I got resin in my mouth. Again, cuticles and fingernails are the storage devices of the hand. And I will end up doing this, and then the outside of my right eye will burn like no other. Get a little finger brush. That's the ticket. If you're 3D printing and you forget to wear gloves, finger brush. If you're cutting peppers and you're working with powerful cayenne, especially in a delicious sauce, finger brush. I found that the finger brush, if I do that with soap, no worries at all. Because my biggest fear is that I'm doing something with like really spicy stuff and then I pet my dog. I don't want that to happen. When she was a wee little puppy, she was a wee little tiny little corgi with 2 ears that were like this. I was eating super hot spicy chip and lie. I ate these Dorito Cool Ranch hot chips that were too powerful for me. Like, I was like, why am I eating these? Like, everything I know is burning, and because they're Cool Ranch, you just keep eating them. So I just kept eating these Doritos. I think I even like dipped them in ranch. It's very unhealthy, especially during being so sedentary during the pandemic. I was just... Anyway, point is, I dropped one because I'm a slob. And the next morning, Willow came downstairs. She went all the way down the stairs. This is when she was first doing stairs. And I found her with one of the chips, just licking it. I think she likes spicy stuff, but I'm not sure. But like the amount of pain that I get from getting whatever the fuck, capsella, that's the toy. Getting the spicy stuff in my eyes. I don't want to subject Willow to that. So again, one of those little finger scrubbing brushes and just doot, done. Because all the stuff will stay in your cuticles and under your nails. When people go, oh, you know, hands smell like garlic, just touch the faucet. And first of all, groping the faucet, that should be like against the law. You're being a pervert, and the faucets can't consent. But anyway, if you're groping your faucet, which I've tried, it still smells like garlic. Like the stainless is supposed to neutralize it, but it doesn't get, again, into your cuticles, under your nails. So again, touching the faucet does nothing. Dish soap, scrub those cuticles with a little horsehair brush, and the smell goes away. So, spicy things are so good as long as it's not spicy when leaving my body again. That's when you get to like the, what is it called again? The spicy stuff extract that they put into all the cheap spicy stuff. That's when your butthole's gonna suffer. I found that like garden grown peppers and like peppers from the market, you eat them and I don't know, your body just deals with it better because it's not extract. What's up, Fear Willies? Ooh, that gives me some fear Willies. Actually, cold Willies is what I'm getting. Update, dish liquid and baking soda. There you go. So WLED debug is now in there. So now our serial print is going to be this nonsense flood of text. And we're going to see where our specific user mod errors out and doesn't run properly. Because right now, WLED is still animating everything. It's connecting to Wi-Fi. It's working exactly the way it should, only the command that we know works, ESP Wi-Fi stop, because remember, we put that on a button function, and we pressed the button, and it turned off the radio, and suddenly our current dropped by half, right? So we know this works, but all of my little escape clauses in here, something must be getting in the way. So we're going to try that out. Oh, and then in Platformio override, I need to change this to pin 21. Twintington. Not 221. 21. We'll see if 21 is no longer on the list. If 21 disappears from the list, that means something else weird is happening when we're checking our pins. Extract the body doesn't tear down, so it's almost like the same when leaving. I hate that feeling because I can feel it in my guts. My guts are like working double time, and you can just like the first half an hour your stomach is bad. The second half an hour you can feel it in the top of your stomach, your belly, and then for the half hour after that it's the lower part of the belly, and then it's an emergency. It's like, yeah, I just felt that go through all of my guts. So we're going to try to see if that stays assigned. So let's... Platform IO takes a while to compile. At the end of last stream, I compiled, and it actually compiled like the first time. That was shocking to me. So let us... what is it? Well, if I click... I'm going to plug this in so the COM7 is recognized. So now COM7 is going to show up. And so if I just hit the little arrow button up here, Platform IO is going to take over and do everything we need it to do. The funny thing is, when this program is actually put together and running inside of the microcontroller, it is not really ever going to have a chance to reset. Like here, we're resetting it often, so these setup things can like run properly and everything. I don't think there's any way to reset the microcontroller without getting into that button, which is kind of weird. All going good. Good to hear. What are we doing right now? I thought I hit upload. Do I have to hit build separately from upload? Terminal will be reused by tasks. PowerShell, Platform IO. That was the succeeded previous build. I didn't finish the RC car, and I would like to get a land speed, top land speed off of it, because with the RC car, I haven't prioritized it because it still would be fun to race around, and I need to spend some time playing with the toy that I spent so much time putting together. But I've got a GPS tracker on it. It's like a bike computer that does top speed. So I need to turn this thing on, put the shell on, make sure this thing is getting a satellite connection, and then I want to see what, with the gyro, what the top speed is. Because I think it was like 32 miles an hour without the gyro on. With the gyro on, I can go much faster in a straight line. So I want to see what my max speed is. The Top Gear actually covered the resto mod of this car recently. They had it on their program. It was really nice on their YouTube channel. It's like their second video now, which was kind of cool. But yeah, I would like to get this, running a little bit more, and I want to get the top section to have all the right lighting, which we kind of planned for. I could potentially use some fast LED stuff to put some fancy looking lights on it and make them do cool stuff. But I think just putting just a regular old diode behind these things would be kind of fun. Not bad speeds for a 128, 32 miles an hour is not bad. I think the on-road chassis, if I were to spend money getting like a good motor for it and everything, that could probably do 100 miles an hour, but I don't think my radio is up to that task. I'd have to get a much more powerful radio so that I wouldn't run out of range. I looked up that chassis. I think actually Short Lurker looked up that chassis, and there was a video of a kid out in the Midwest where it's a lot of flat roads that nobody's on, was able to get to 100 miles an hour with that chassis. Crazy stuff. I don't know if I want an RC car that can go 100 miles an hour and completely obliterate the ankles of the operator, because those 1/10 scales have a bit of inertia behind them. 1/2 scale tow truck. For the half scale tow truck, this may not be relevant for half scale, but if you wanted to make a 1/24 scale tow truck, where's my... A 1/24 scale, like a small tow truck. These are pretty cool. These things that I got for Burn the Subs. I'll have to look up here. Get this over. You can't see them. You can't see them. These guys up top. These are little spinny lights. and they're just a bunch of LEDs inside of that little housing there, and they do like emergency light kind of stuff. They're really, really cool, and they're funny as hell to have on Burn the Subs, because it's like a piece of industrial equipment. Should we go up to burn the subs? Let's look down at the synthesizer. So, or you know what? This will just be my back shots view. We'll get back shots with this camera. Yeah, there's my back shots. You guys are all interested in Bother's back shots, right? There we go. Back shots of the streamer. That's what I'm using that phrase right? Yeah, those things. There you go. What do they call them? How do you have so many? Hold on one sec. Blue. Okay, so it's just, that doesn't really help me identify what they're called. Anyway, Burn the Subs is yellow ones of those, but your tow truck could probably have some of those things. That'd be really funny. Airsoft RC tank. Back in the day, and I mean late 90s, right? Because I was looking this stuff up on the library computer at my school. And they still do this. Actually, there was a video recently where one of the RC people went to one of these things, but they used to put up all this like Lexan sheets, plexiglass sheets to protect people from rogue BBs. But people would build RC boats, these RC battleship boats out of balsa wood, and they would of course put like BB-proof, BB's fun to say, BB. Anyway, they would put like flotation things that were BB-proof inside of them so you wouldn't lose your model. But they would have fixed guns, and they would all be like metal BB guns that were air-powered and remote control. And so people would put them all on a lake one day and have this full-blown RC boat battle with exploding hulls and stuff. Because it was all balsa wood. It would just, you know, shatter and explode. Coolest thing ever. God, you gotta be such a dork to do that. I love it. Canon RC boats are neat too, yeah. I have one on my tow truck, even lights on turn signals. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so that would be one of these days, if I get back to it, having this RC car with full lighting would be really neat. And then to print it, I would be using the translucent, which is just this clear stuff mixed with black resin. And the ratio's weird. It's sort of a heavy tint, but that's kind of what I want, because this way you could see in to the windows and you would be able to see the lights from the radio, so you know what's going on with the radio and stuff. Yeah, it's like a rock crawler, right? Those rock crawlers have 2-speed transmissions and stuff. Is it gas powered or are you electric? Because yeah, that's cool. It's fun to nerd out with the RC car guys every now and then, all right? Don't you judge me. All right, so this is ready to go. I just don't know how to use Platform IO. I guess we need to build it first. So let's build it and let it put itself together with all of our debugging prints in there. So to recap, we went over some of the software. It doesn't take that long for me to go over the software with you guys, because now I fully understand how it works, even though I don't understand some of the functions that I'm using are they elude me a little bit. We're gonna see what exactly broke in this thing, but from our perspective, what happened is I got my code to compile because I got rid of all the errors that the compiler had. And so we compiled it and I loaded it up onto the microcontroller. And so the initial first blush of the program is almost everything worked perfectly. I was fully configured from my own Platform IO overrides, except my own function, my own user mods activating pin wasn't defined, that's okay, because that means that it just won't use any of the functionality of my user mod. It'll just, you know, knock it out of that, and then the whole thing of lights still works. So what I did is I then looked at what pins I was able to assign based on the code that we wrote, and the pin that I thought I would be able to assign didn't come up as a valid pin, and I don't know why. So I flipped over to the valid pin and assigned it and saved my settings and went back into the settings, and the proper pin was still assigned. So I moved my circuit over to that pin. What we have is we have a 400 kilo ohm resistor and a 1N4148 clamping to the 3-volt supply, so that if there's 5 volts on this line, it will send the excess to our 3-volt line, because there is a voltage difference between 5 and 3 volts. It'll allow current to flow through. That current, very, very, very small. It's through a 400 kilo ohm resistor. So we're not overdoing it on anything. And if that pin sees 5 volts, it's actually kind of okay with it. But having that clamp there just kind of puts me at ease. So anyway, we're doing like a voltage regulator clamp on that. Fine. So we see 3 volts on that pin when we're plugged into USB. But we're plugged into USB right now, and I'm able to change stuff on this using the interface, using the web interface. So something is not going to the command we know that works, because we already put that command on a button previously. We know it works. We know it shuts down the radio. We know it uses about half of the amount of idle current when we shut down the radio. Half of the idle current is going towards this guy. Half of it's going towards the idling WS2812s. There's 92 WS2812s. That's 92 LEDs in this collar. If I use a different LED strip, there would be far fewer LEDs and we would have far less quiescent current. But this is so fucking cool. I can't not put this down here. Come on. So we're going with 92 LEDs and I'm going to make it work. We're this close. My code works. Something is knocking it out of the series of events, and it might be my logic. It might be the functions I'm using. We put in serial prints and a debug command into the microcontroller, so we'll be able to open up a serial display and the microcontroller will tell us all the steps of the way. We'll analyze that, and we'll see what's actually keeping us from getting into the actual meat of the function that I wrote. That's the microphone. That's going to be kind of weird to work into our final design, but I could either use this microphone breakout board or I could switch to something else, or I could get the devices off of that. It's an I2S microphone, and we've got it hooked up to a couple of the I/O pins here. I chose microphone instead of accelerometer. Accelerometer would have been very fun because Willow jumps around. And then we could have had animations that relate to her jumping around. But I would have to go into like more hardcore coding of the presets. I want to just configure all the presets using the web interface. And sort of accommodating both I2S and I2C wasn't really going to happen. So we dropped the accelerometer of the project, which I'm kind of sad about, but getting those single button functions in order to get us into a deep sleep, that was really important. MOSFET circuit to turn off all the LEDs, so we're in the microamps of current. All that runs is that little 3-volt LDO, and unfortunately Seed did not give us a way to shut it down. There is a way to shut it down, and there's an LED associated with it. We did not get that onto one of the I/O, and I don't know how to access it. You have any need to have GPS on it? Or is your dog never unattended? She's not really unattended, and she doesn't really run away from me. If something really super scary happens, like I had one of the neighbors' corgis sort of pulled her over and she fell, and that was a big commotion. It was a lot of hullabaloo. You know, I tried to catch her and she slipped and just fell. So Willow instinctively ran away. And what she does is she runs away out of the situation, just beyond where everything is happening, and she stops and she looks back. And she's really good with that. She said, "Oh no, don't worry about me, go get your dog." And I'm like, no, Willow's fine. She's right there. She just stands there and looks back, and she kind of knows where the house is, and she doesn't really get into a situation where she can potentially run away from me. So otherwise I would put something like an air tag on her. I don't think anybody's gonna be stealing the dog. So there's a bunch of warnings. I don't know if there's something I need to worry about. What? Declaration of I shadows a previous local. But that's in parsing.c++. I don't know if there's a user mod for GPS. There might be, but I'm not going to do that. I recently moved and everybody around here has invisible fences. Startled me having dog after dog run up to almost you, barking nonstop a bit. That's got to be bad for, like, if you're jogging, if you're yogging. What is all the... Task has warnings. I think I'm going to ignore the warnings. I think those are for the other parts of it. No invisible fence for my yard, so I'm considering at least track GPS collar. Yeah, those GPS collars are crazy. They're big though. I don't know if they've gotten super small. The stuff that I was working with the actual like FBI tracking, those were not that big, and that was like 5 to 8 years ago. That was like 10 years ago that I was at that job, and so I would think that those GPS collars could get pretty small now, but they also have to have like a radio modem on them and everything too for like cell phone communication. There's probably some pretty good ones out there. Let's upload this and see what happens. Warnings are fine. It's just info about its take your bank info and such as random time. As long as the build is perfectly fine to use it. As long as we got a bank card. What? I don't want to give the bank card. We're uploading. Look at it go. Wait, I hit upload. Did it build it again? No. Serial part COM7. There it goes. Oh, there's going to be so much text when this thing boots up. It's crazy to think that this device will boot up once. Right? Like when I turn it back on from deep sleep, I guess it does it go through a boot up when it comes back from deep sleep? Because getting it to come back from deep sleep and go to the same preset that it was already on, I don't know. If when it comes back from deep sleep, I don't know if it restarts itself. Okay, so let's take a look. Ah, I should have put that in there. Is that happening too much? Yes, it is. Okay, well, there's our data point. We've put a pin in that. We can stop now. Something just happened. I'll never know. I'll never know what that was. So we got loop issues. Please turn this off. Can you get small again? Do that. Well, now I don't have the thing in the bottom. All right, whatever. All right, I'm gonna unplug it so that we can hit reset on it. Unplugging and resetting so that we can now actually operate this thing. And I'll put pretty visuals on it. Back. Go with blurs. There we go. Much less current and just something to run while we're sitting here. Hey, man, just my age is. Why do I forget how to say that every time? How you doing? We're getting there. We're getting there. We're finding issues one by one. So okay, so we've got a thing going on there. Let's check our config for user mods down here, and we have radio off. Why did it choose pin 20? I said 21. Double check the pin we're using. I must have typoed. Hacking the dog collar with pretty collars? No, WLED does that for us. We're hacking the dog collar to use less energy. So 4 in from the reset button. 3 in. Is that 3 or 4? Do you feel lucky? That's 3 in. 3 in from the reset button is. Oh, we're looking at the C6. Oh, we're looking at the C6. Wait a minute. Why is there so much blank space at the bottom of the page? Where is my pin out? There it is. Nope, not quite. Pin out. 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 Yeah, it's still pin 21. Oh, that's GPIO 8 or 9. GPIO 9. Wait a minute. 20 and 21. Do we have 21 on here? There's 21. That's all the way at D6. We're using it for other stuff. So I've assigned it to be a Oh, that's bad. Okay, so it actually reassigned us to pin 20, which is pin 20 even on here? It's that bottom right-hand corner that we're not using. So let's move over to that one. I was setting it up for the Studio C6, which is the wrong one. So it's possible that my code fully worked directly out of the box. But it's also possible that I messed up the loops, because it seemed to be checking loops quite often. And then I need to bring my diode over too, because right now I am sending 5 volts directly into this microcontroller, which could cause issues. So I'm actually going to go over here. And we will connect to here for our USB current clamp. Okay, so now we've got the 400K resistor from the 5 volt pin going to pin 21. We are currently unplugged from the device. So technically, and if my loop didn't kind of like mess up and keep resetting, I think I need to make loop time a public. There is, it's just on the underside. I see. So the one that it shows is actually a valid pin. Where are the undersides? That is a big LED. This is the whole reason we're using this microcontroller, is that we've got battery connections. Okay, screw it. Let's go back up to the pinout. I need to make sure we have it assigned on pin 20, and so we just hooked it up to pin 20, GPIO 20. Oh, we're pointing to somebody else. Okay. Sorry, didn't read up. That's my big thing. So yeah, what we're doing is we're connecting this pin, USB fused 5 volts, to our microcontroller with a 400 kilo ohm resistor. So when there's power here and it's allowed to go through that diode to the rest of the circuit, we've got, yeah, anyway, this is our discharge path, this 100 kilo ohm. So we are on pin 20. So on pin 20, if I click over to go to bouncing balls, yeah, it goes over. So the radio's not turning off. There's still something wrong with my loops. Brother, the loops. So what is going on then? Oops, because it seems to be hitting this quite a bit. I did set 21, and somehow the thing set pin 20. Well, now we're on pin 20, so whatever, Control S. That should work now. I've confused the C6 and the C3 for their pinouts. What's happening is we're hitting this one every single time. If enabled and not off mode, last loop time is equal to 0 to reset the timer. I think that's the problem. Last loop time equaling 0 then sets the last loop time here to equal to millis every single loop. That's going to do that every single loop as long as it's enabled and not in off mode. So that's the problem. Have like a loop expiring latch or something? What do I need on this? I need... Because when it checks and it goes through here and the time is expired, then it will set last loop time to equal to 0 when it changes it, or if the radio is supposed to be in the configuration that it... Wait a minute, that's what's doing it. Because this would set it every single time too. Radio is supposed to be in the current state, and then we reset our loop time. No, that actually, no. Because yeah, we check and then it's fine, and so we return. Yep, that's fine. That keeps us checking every second. This is, I think, just the problem here, and maybe I don't need this at all. Because if the device turns on and there's already a last loop time set, it will expire and we'll just run the next piece of the software, and then it'll reset the loop timer. So if our delay hasn't expired yet, we get out of here. But if our delay is expired, then we check to see whether or not the pin agrees with our stuff. And we've got our 3 returns from there. Whether or not it agrees, we will set the last loop time to 0 because we've done our stuff. That timer's expired. So if the timer hasn't expired, if the timer has expired, if the last loop time is equal to 0, then we reset the timer to our current time. And that's we only do that when these loops complete. So when we expire our timer. That's a little bit more bare bones. That extra function up there was not doing anything. And that's if we set the delay timer. If we don't, then this whole thing just doesn't function. So I think that might have solved our issue. What I'll do is I'm going to get rid of debug now, so that we don't serial print 10,000 lines. Although this won't be in there anymore, so we won't see this running every single time. This loop, the existence of it, this should not have been. It shouldn't have existed because it was not, if enabled and not in off mode. Wait a second. If not enabled or not off mode. Oh, so we were not off mode. That's what it was. If the microcontroller is turned on. If we're in off mode, we've got deep sleep running, so the loop should not be running anyway. I like that somebody made a serial WLED software for Amiga just because they wanted to hook up a power LED, hard drive, and floppy disk LED to the WLED chain. That's kind of awesome, actually. For the Amiga. Okay, I think that fixes our loops, brother. The loops. I think that fixes us. Just kind of looking over it again. I mean, the other part is that if delay timer isn't or is equal to 0, I guess greater than 0 also brings with it -1. But if I reverse that loop, if I reverse this if, I don't even need to have it in there, and I could knock everybody over to the side a little bit. I mean, I guess I'll keep it in there. It's just weird. It's just checking to see if our last setting is set so that we can actually do our business here. But then if delay timer is negated, we never touch last loop time, the variable. I guess that's okay. All right, I think we're good though. I think that's all we're gonna do. So I'm gonna compile this. Build. And then there's gonna be a bunch of warnings. Ooh, install my package, nice. Cute. They have their whole ASCII WLED, their ASCII art WLED banner, but it happens so quickly that it just flashes up on screen for like 1 frame. Whoa, Jesus. Perot. I wonder what'll happen when this goes over to the C6, because if they port it to the C6, I'm gonna have to bring over my user mod, and then I think from there what I do is I need to change the pins, the default pins, and then I need to go into the C6 WLED code, and I want to disable both the AP and the what do you call it? Factory reset code. I just have to comment it out. I think that's all I need to do though. They had memory to spare so they could take it to 0.1 second advertising. What the hell are you doing here? No hardware SPI pins defined. Now, it did change my pin from pin 21 to pin 20, and I don't know why it did that. It's possible that we've still got a little bit of an error when we check to see the is okay thing. So we may have to build another debug after this and check to see that pin doesn't, because when I reassign the pin from the drop-down menu, it works, but if I have the pin already assigned, is it gonna write over it? Because it assigned us to pin 20, we were assigned to pin 21. I don't know what's going on with that. It's either my loops or the functions that I'm using that are bad and should feel bad. Hear Willow barking at the door. Woo woo. She's got an interesting bark for a dog. It's luckily not shrill in any way, but it's a very cute bark. We lucked out with her bark. Woo 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 woo. Ah! There's like an internal timing that she has. It's like a little motorboat, like ba 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 ba. Woo 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 woo. It's so weird. She doesn't howl. She sort of does like a sine wave. This is a lot of compiling. There's potential for this to work perfectly immediately after we compile and build, which is really exciting to me, because that would mean we are fully software feature complete. The only thing that I might want is the ability to save the current play, like whatever position in the playlist it has, so that I can pull it up when it powers back up. But I disabled that user mod. Oh, everything froze up when I plugged in the radio. That's new. Huh. Or when I plugged in USB. And it's using almost no power. Wait a minute. Are the states reversed? Is it powering off the radio when I'm plugged in? We'll have to investigate this. I think that's what just happened. I think it just powered off the radio when I'm plugged in. We might have to reverse this thing. But it's not animating, which is bad. That animated a little bit when I unplugged. Uh-oh. Uh-oh! We still have problems. Something might have messed it up. Wait, let's see. Do I get more current when I unplug? 120 milliamps is still... I think the radio's still running. And then when I plug it into USB, it's actually using the computer's power, so I can't current monitor. I could check this. Okay, so that's working again. Blur's just broke for some reason. Huh, why is Blur's broken? Bouncing balls? Oh god, the frame rate is like, what happened? Is it getting into another piece of my code? I'll bet you what's happening is it's assigning the timer over and over again to millis, and that's ruining the loop, and it's taking up too much time. Because it's able to do the animation, but this is doing it so often, and it should be, like what's happening is it's setting the timer equal to 0 every single loop, and what that'll do is that'll keep it assigning the millis variable every single loop. It should not be doing that so often every single loop. It should be doing it, it should be getting kicked out for other reasons every single loop. So it doesn't take up as much time and cycling. I'll bet you that's what's going on. What the heck is all this doing? It's still compiling. This stuff takes forever. Problem with using a big, extensive, professional, giant project such as WLED. Sure is taking its time. Oh my god, everything's broken. Shadow declaration. It didn't take too long after the shadow declarations, I don't think. Oh my god. I hope it doesn't reassign our pin again. In that case, I think what would be happening is that our comparison isn't working for the pin that we want to use. In which case, I think I want to just blow away all of my code and just have it list out the pins for the C3. So successful build. Upload. We upload. Upload. Installing node. All right, let's effing go. Go, go, go. Upload. Building in release mode, etc., etc. When this thing goes basically blank. COM7, here we go. What? A fatal error occurred, no serial data received. Okay, so what I need to do is unplug this, hold down the reset button, or hold down the B button, the program button, and then plug it in and let go. And so now I can actually hit upload, and it'll upload to it. The error that we had in it, like my code eating up all the loops, caused it to not be able to run the serial port properly. So this should get it to work, I think. Building in release mode. I don't know how to feel about the microcontroller never resetting. That seems weird to me. I guess it's okay, but I don't know if like I have this thing for a couple of years and all those variables have been set and it's still running like the same. That's so weird to me. Damn it. What's error 2? Code 1. Terminated. Upload port. How do I check the serial ports on this thing? There we go. I mean, it's there. I should be able to upload to it. Try again. What could I have possibly done? And I gotta wait for this every single time to see whether or not the COM port is actually working with Platformio. Because I'm in upload mode where I've held down the B button. Do I need to like hold down the reset button? I don't think so. Because we were in programming mode. See serial port COM7, firmware.bin, esptool.py, fatal error. Terminated with exit code 1. But the COM port, all right, let's hold on, arduino.cc, regular old Arduino app to look at what's going on the serial port, because I don't know how to use Platformio. I don't quite know what I'm doing with that. That's the fun of today. Damn it, I just want my code to go up into this thing. So COM7 is here. It's not doing any debugging. It's in programming mode. Why are we not able to send our program to COM7? Send it V, lowercase v. It should give me if WLED was running. So I haven't had trouble with this before. What's going on with this? Oh, somehow closing that reset the whole thing. Upload error 2. Let's just look up upload error 2 with no other context. What's up, Paloozer? Yeah, it is a winter wonderland here, but without snow. We're at -5 degrees Celsius outside. Yada, 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 etc., etc. In the future, take some time to pick the forum category that best suits your time. Shut the hate that shit. Error might be caused by the communication lines between the computer and the microcontroller on the board not being able to support the rather high default upload speed. Ours is like 48 something or other, right? 1 to 2 inches in VA. Aw, man. I wish. Yeah, we got sprinkles, I think. I'm gonna check to see if it's flurrying. I need like an outside cam to use with stream. Just like a really crappy feed somewhere outside that'll give me enough information to know what it's doing and not dox me. Ain't doing nothing out there. It's just cold. It's just that kind of cold that gets into your bones. That's the season that we're in. It's, I mean, cold to the bone, meaning like if there's a stiff, usually that's when there's like a breeze, and then you don't put on something that wind blocks. You don't have a windbreak. So what speed was this thing requesting? Because maybe that's our problem. Oh, get out of my way. 460, 800 is a very strange speed to me. I don't know why it was that. So let's just do 1150, How many zeros is in that? Is that the right amount of zeros? 1152. Yeah, 2 zeros. 1150, I wonder, if I unplug this, is it going to use less current? No, because we're still running that same, but now it's actually... It's not frozen, and it's using 130 milliamps, so no, it's still not functioning the way I want it to. But it does appear to be running, so maybe let's try uploading to it now. Something hit a reset, hit it over the head with a reset just properly. Save that, and I guess the platform IO overrides, are those used when you upload, or are they used when you compile? I'm just going to hit upload again and just see what happens. This thing has a massive strobe light because it went onto a random thing. Yeah, that's what we had yesterday, where the wind would just cut you in half. My single press is not changing the mode. We've got, so I think my theory on what's happening is we looked at the serial monitor, and the serial monitor told us that we were resetting the loop timer every single cycle. And in doing so, basically it's been taking up all the cycles of the microcontroller. And so when I screwed around with some of the settings and stuff like that, something that it was doing is taking up even more time in the microcontroller. And so maybe that's causing an issue with uploading, or I don't know, there's something else going on that I need to correct. And it might just be that I set that speed to a more logical upload speed, and maybe that'll fix it, I hope. We'll see about that, but my theory is that my user mod is using up too much loopiness in the program. My user mod is technically supposed to only be interacting once a second. What is all this crap? We know it's COM7. We're good with COM7. We know it works. We uploaded code even today. So what happened? What in the heck did you do? Was it waiting for COM7? What's going on here? This is troubling. Do I need to change it to 9600 baud? Oh, look at that, 22% of RAM, 73% of flash. Cool. Using manually specified COM7. Yes. And what's going on here, bud? Hey, what are we doing? Do I need to put this into programming mode for it to actually use it? I don't want to unplug it right now. That would be kind of a bad idea. But maybe that's what's necessary. All right, I'm going to do it. It's going to error out as soon as I unplug. Let me do the reset method. So hold down program, hit reset, release program. Fuck. It messed it up. Hit reset again, and it should go back into blinking. It should go back into... Hello? was weird. Was it a deep sleep or something? Okay, so programming mode, hold down, hit reset. Now we're in program mode. Maybe now I can hit upload. Got to go through all that again. This is a little frustrating, huh? 48 compatible libraries. What the hell is it even doing? Like, what is all this? Yeah, I'm not sure. The platform overrides. Ugh, come on, man. It's still on error 2. I don't know if that's like a data issue or what. Device is not recognized. You might need to install specific drivers. That's not. No, we don't have to do that. Please select ports in tool tab. Already did. Device manager port on Windows. No, that's not. Nothing else is using the COM port. I closed Arduino. This isn't going via COM port, I don't think. Yeah, connection to light failed. Yeah, so this isn't doing anything. I don't have any other like uploaders open right now. It should just be Platformio with COM7. What if we looked at terminal? Could not open port. File not found. The system cannot find the file specified. Exit code 1. So there it didn't find, but COM7 is definitely connected though. Huh. What could I have done to ruin my beautiful COM port? All right, so holding down program and then plugging into USB. Although it's still getting power from the battery. And it's using 10 milliamps right now. So let me turn off the battery. Maybe that's what was doing it. Hold down the program button, plug in, release the program button, and then try to open up the COM port over here. Fuck. Did I blow up my Arduino? No, not in there. Interesting. What if I just unplug and plug into the COM port with the battery off? Oh, so now it's not seeing the COM port. Give it a minute. Yeah, it just hates us. I don't think I bricked the micro. I don't think. Anything's possible, but try unplug and plug back in. See if we get a COM port here. Although WLED is not coming back on from just plugging straight back in. Don't know what's going on there. Wiggle all my wires. Hit the power button once. Are we going into deep sleep immediately? No. No, we're not. Turn the battery on. Oh, now it came back on. It wasn't powering it without power on the battery for some unknown reason. So now that's back up. Do we get COM7? We'll give it a minute. We're still not seeing a COM port. Check my wire, even though I know it's good. That's good. So now I guess what I'm going to do is use the reset button and the program button. So program, reset, release program. Check to see if there's a COM port. No COM port. Oh, the shenanigans. Oh, the shenanigans. Try that again. COM. That one. Wait. Release. Unplug. Flip the cable over. I don't know. It's just random stuff. Plug it back in. There is no longer a COM port on this microcontroller. I do not know what happened that made it not work. Possibly it could be our debug lines are keeping it from establishing a COM port, but when I put it into programming mode, it's not connecting in programming mode. The battery is on the circuit. That shouldn't affect it that much. It's just that I think the battery is the primary way that it's being powered. If I unplug from here, and then I turn off the battery, and then I hold down the programming button, I turn on the battery, and then I release the programming button, and then I attach the COM port. And then I take a bite of my chip. What now? How now, brown cow? Damn it. Still nothing. Why have you forsaken me? Did we damage the microcontroller or something? Because when I plug it in normally and get it running normally, it runs normally, and everything's normal. Very strange indeed. Normal. And then where are we? Here to WLED, and I change the color. You guys couldn't see that very well. I changed the color. Yeah, it's still doing its thing. We can do this all day. Scan. Scanning. Scanning. Okay, well then, why is it unable to establish a COM port at all when we had this thing printing out full stuff? Let me check Arduino. Just because I like Arduino's COM port handling better. It does take a minute to start up though. And this animation seems to be normal speed for everything that's going on. So really technically I should be able to open up the serial monitor on the right COM port, which is not listed. I've had this happen before where they've had trouble. Shock with RGB lights, that is so cool. Oh yeah, man. It's not a shock collar, by the way. this doesn't shock. But we do have cool patterns that run on the collar itself. There we go. We're trying to get the final feature in this thing, which is a different physical USB port. It's gotten sick of my shit, huh? Yeah, that's what we did last time, is we flipped it to a different port. We're running something called WLED to run 92 programmable LEDs on this collar. It uses up way too much current, so we're trying to build in our final feature, which is that if this thing is plugged into USB, it turns the radio on. Otherwise, the radio is off. And so it'll use half of the amount of current that it typically does. These things are the star of the show. They're using up every single last ounce of current that this thing has available. They actually use double the amount when idling. So we can cut our current consumption in half. There's dog hair all over. In half by turning off the radio. So I've written my own user mod. We're in the final stages, the final painful stages of troubleshooting the user mod. So I'm going to flip COM ports because apparently my computer must have gotten completely overloaded in some way. So now we're on a new COM port, so it'll show up as something completely unique. Or it'll just show up as COM7. Or it'll just show up as COM7 again. Okay. Okay, now it sees COM7. We're in a new port. I'm going to hit upload. I think I can hit upload. Finally. The computer just gets kind of silly with it, I guess. Yeah, good call, Short Lurker. I would not have remembered that. WLED, scanning dependencies. I wonder if also this thing is taking up more current than my thing can provide. And maybe that's what causes it to like, bah, and then it dies. Because this thing's a current hungry little goober. Although it doesn't pull more than an amp. There's some kind of current limiting going on with the MOSFET that I used. Which is good. Which is good, because it's plenty bright the way it is right now. Damn it! Why? Terminated with exit code 1. It's still there. Maybe if I unhook the LEDs. So that they don't take a ton of current. And then I try again, maybe? Or should I put it in programming mode? I'm going to put it in programming mode. So I'm going to hold down program and then hit the reset button once. And so now it should be in programming mode. Let's just check to see if we get the COM port. COM port is still there. So now we're going to upload it. Maybe that'll do it without all that current hungry stuff hooked up. That didn't stop it before, but I'm out of... I don't know what's going on. Why are you doing this to me? Oh, 115200 might also be the problem. No. It would try first. Qualcomm buying Arduino is such a hostile takeover. You know, we don't need Arduino anymore. It was nice while it lasted, and it's kind of unfortunate that Qualcomm has bought them, because Qualcomm hardware is really not Arduino hardware. But Arduino is starting to delve into like AI stuff and weird things like that. So, you know, we still have our Studio Zhaos. We still have our, 1,000 other offshoot platforms that still use the same stuff that we know how to use. So, there it is again. A serial exception error, write timeout. This error originates from Pi serial. It's likely not a problem with ESP tool, but with the hardware connection or drivers for troubleshooting steps, visit blah. Dang it, Bobby, why is this fucked up? It should be totally happy. Like, we're not stressing out any of our stuff. I know exactly what's going on. Electrical engineers trying to program. Yeah, well, that's something. I used Qualcomm hardware before, and it was, I don't know, man. It was just that kind of like professionally kind of stuff that I don't really like. I like Arduino and how scrappy it is, but we're lucky enough to have 1,000 offshoots of Arduino code. This thing is being like a nightmare for uploading lately. I'm not doing anything with the TX and RX pins, am I? I don't think so. They are associated with other stuff, but these TX and RX don't affect this thing. We had this thing outputting serial prints, and then it just decided to kind of like stop. And I don't think it's my computer messing it up. I think it's, well, I don't know what it is. So I guess I can't say I think that it's anything. What do you say? Oh, do I have to hit control or something? Do you want code to open external website? Yeah, do it. Opens up Bing. Failed to connect. Your chip is probably not entering the bootloader properly. Check that you're pressing the correct serial port. Yes, we are. Permission to access the serial port on other software such as Modem Manager on Linux. I don't think that's it. Check that the chip is receiving 3v3 from a stable power source. It's receiving 3.9 volts on the battery pins. So yes, it is. Try using a slower baud rate. Yeah, let's go slower baud rate. Let's try that. I don't know if I need to upload this in order for it to actually do this. 9. A painful 9600 baud. I guess maybe I need to like, do I need to fully build it for the platform overrides to take over? Or is it going to do that when I hit upload? Because the depends and the build on flags. I'll build it again. We build the whole thing again. It doesn't tell me what baud it tries when we hit upload. Ah, this is going to take forever. This is going to take a while. Bear with me. Oh, got to stretch those legs. Whew. We're so close to this that I had to have a stream that was frustrating troubleshooting. It would be nice if everything just kind of worked, but you know, the nature of the beast is that we had loop issues and all kinds of other stuff. So I'm rebuilding this totally. And so we just succeeded in the build. The building gets faster and faster the more times you build because it's based on the minor changes that you make, and it knows when to reuse stuff. So, all right, so we built pretty quickly. Let's immediately try to upload. Is COM7 stable? It is still there, and I don't know what mode I'm in. Well, let's just hit upload and see what happens. We're going to try to upload at 9600 baud. And then it's going to error out immediately. That's NPM. That's not communicating on the COM port. Yep, here we go. Scanning dependencies. Found 48 compatible libraries. Any minute now. Any minute now. Please. Building. Serial port COM7, and then this is where it all falls apart. Where it all falls apart. This is where it all... What is going on? Oh, okay, same thing. Why does it hate me so much? I don't understand. Well, I didn't have this problem 5 minutes ago, right? 10 minutes ago. We did not have the same problem. I was able to upload all the way to the microcontroller. We know that Hello World works. I added some serial prints to the debugging thing and enabled debugging, and I guess that locked us out of the microcontroller. That's absurd, because we're trying to upload with a cable. We should be able to do that. I'm going to open up that terminal. Yeah, this is what's reset USB check loop time. This is what's hobbling our program and keeping me from uploading. Is that this is running every 50 fucking... But our things should still be able to assert, in spite of the serial poop that it's doing, it should still be able to assert like a reprogramming thing. But if okay, so I hold down program button, and then I hit reset, and then I release the programming button, that interrupts our terminal. I have issues with having serial monitor open while trying to upload. How do I close this? I hit this, right? That just hides the panel. Does that actually close the terminal? Open equals running. But if I close this, is it now not running the terminal? Try holding the programming button longer. I think we're getting into programming mode, but I can definitely do that. So hold down the button. Press reset. Release reset. Release program. That should be well enough time. Hold it the whole time? Is that like an emergency mode? There's our USB COM port. Check terminal. That's not continually running. Can I close this and know that it's totally undone? You have to control C in the monitor. Okay, that may be the issue. That actually probably is the issue. ClearCom error failed. The device does not recognize the command. Reconnecting to COM7. You son of a bitch. COM7 terminated, will be reused by tasks. Don't close it. Okay, so then we go to upload. That must have been it. COM7 was busy. That's something that you don't really run into with Arduino, because when you close its serial monitor, it closes serial. So I did not know about that. Thank you, Smith Clay. So now it should upload. Accursed program. I know control seeing it is more the way like programmers know how to do it, and that I learned wrong. But at the same time, like, give me something in the UI that lets me like exit and close the port or something. Is it gonna, it's having trouble connecting again? I tell you, something's up with this. Oh, right click and stop the process. I see. So these are more than I let on to. Interesting. So now it's getting caught up. I got my slow upload speed on there. So it's not upload speed. I think it was just the COM port was in use, which is weird because if I open up Arduino, then the COM port wasn't in use and I could monitor it. That's weird. Does PIO just need a restart or something? It is not able to connect to this thing. What the butt? What the butt? USB serial device, COM7. What up, 3D Code Warrior? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? You may need to reboot the device now. Hit reboot. Boink. I hit reboot. Please respond. I definitely clicked the button. I'm going to use the tool to click the button. This reboot button. I've instigated reboot. Damn it. Yeah, exactly. Pat your head. Or pat your belly and rub your head. Error 1 failed. So if and it shouldn't matter if WLED is running or not. So if this is connected to the LEDs, so that's connected to LEDs and it's doing stuff with the LEDs, and the port is COM7, and we're not, okay, so the port's not being recognized right now. So we need to get into debugging mode, because otherwise it's bad cookies. Hold down, reboot, let go. I don't need to hold it down the whole time. That's not how that works. We should now see COM7. We do not see COM7. And WLED is still running. Okay. Hold down, reboot, or hold down the thing, hit reboot, release the thing, give it a couple seconds to realize that it's in programming mode, and then release programming mode. No LEDs are coming on. Check the COM port. There's no COM port. You're in download mode, or the device has some kind of automatic switch to download mode. I'm just trying stuff, but it's not showing up as a device when I do that, which is unique. But I think it kind of gets pissed off at me when I do that. So unplug USB, plug it into a different port. Still nothing. Why have you forsaken me? Oh, WLED started up again. With no COM port. All right, let's plug it into the battery. Having the battery also connected is probably messing us up a little bit. With no battery on, this should still power up the device and put it into programming mode, but it's not. which may mean that we overloaded power on this USB port. Try a different port. Try a fully new port. Fully new and unique port. I better not be blowing up my USB ports of this thing. I mean, it's only 300 milliamps, so it really shouldn't be blowing it up. COM7 is back. I'm only plugged in with USB power, which means that it should be able to reset itself when we program it. Can I close these? Do I just... What's going on with these? Oh. Closed. 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 And we don't want to reopen the COM port. So I have 9600 baud selected so that it's slow. It's going to upload slow, but I don't think that's such a big deal. And so currently we have COM7. And so I'm going to hit upload. And we'll see if we get errors again. If the stars are aligned, perhaps it'll allow us to actually throw code into this thing. Man, it's got to do all this work every single time. The Arduino CC, the original IDE for Arduino allowed me to just check up on what's connected. I didn't have to do all this stuff. There's probably a terminal command that I could use to check to see if it's okay. But in the Arduino thing, you can just pull a pull-down menu and say, check the device. It's like, yeah, you got the right device. Upload error number 2. So this is back to the other one. COM7 terminated with error code 1. 1 failed. Succeeded. Okay, so we're still getting the same error. So now I'm going to try putting it into upload mode or whatever it is. Press that. Hold down reset. Hold on. Hold down reset. Release reset. Release this. To put Seed Studio ESP32 board, like the Zhao, into download bootloader mode, usually press and hold the boot button, then connect the USB cable, then release the button to prepare for flashing firmware. Often indicated by the USB serial JTAG interface, become available on your thing. Yeah, so same thing, slightly different task is to hold down the program mode, hit reset, release program mode, and that should put it into the same thing. You know, connecting USB is just giving it power. COM7 is there. Supposedly this is in programming mode. Supposedly. And we're connected. I don't know why USB isn't allowing the LEDs to turn on. That's a little weird. It should be powering the LEDs just the same. So let's try uploading now. I'm not being totally scientific with this, but I am kind of eliminating piece by piece. But there's only so much that we can try, isn't there? And the thing is clearly working. It's just I think the uploading is being severely interrupted by my serial prints happening way too often, which is, I guess, just a thing. That really shouldn't be a thing, though, should it? That's hanging up again on COM7. Why are you like this? Why have you forsaken me? Wait a minute. There it goes. Okay. So powering only with USB. That was the factor that I was trying. Power only with USB and do the reset with the button flipping, and then it'll upload. And even at the slow speed, 9600, does it tell me what the speed is over here? COM7, ESP32C3, Wi-Fi, BLE, 40 megahertz, MAC address. You guys have my MAC address now. Oh no. Oh no, oh no. Oh well, either way. Yeah, having the battery connected, I think messed it up and also confused the port. So with this is on, it's for some reason, it doesn't work when it's just powered by the USB. I don't know why that is. So let's put the battery back on. Supposedly this will just suddenly light up. Yeah, 9600 is slow. I slowed it down just in case that was a problem. Let's hit reset. Theory is that it had trouble resetting. So, okay, now with my code fixes, there shouldn't be anything on the COM port. There's nothing on the COM port. Close the COM port. Close that. Close that. So, nothing on the COM port. Go to the web interface over here. Is it web? That's not the web. Change the color. It was blue before. Go to orange. Okay, that's kind of a yellow, but that is changing color. So we are connected with it right now, right? We can go to like TV simulator and it'll simulate someone's watching Cheers. It's Norm. Okay, Twinkle Box. Oh, Twinkle Fox. Oh my God, they've got furry presets in here. Ripple Peak is just gonna respond to the sound of me talking. They can hear the sound of my voice and it is responding. So here's the test. If I unplug the plug, will it shut off the radio or will it freeze? It seems to be animating at the same speed. Oh, look, look, look. Oh. When it's idle, it's using 70 milliamps. We've halved the amount of current that this thing is currently taking. And we're checking once per second to see if the computer's plugged in. Theoretically, if I change the settings here, it says I can't communicate. Can't communicate. Haha! I think we've done it. I think we did it. I think we actually did it. I think this is a full success. I've had the issue where the USB power does not pass through the 3v3 of the VN. Yeah, what is that? I don't understand. Maybe we broke something. Because the circuit looks like this. This. So VBAT is present on the FET. If VUSB comes along, then it'll activate the FET or deactivate the FET, I guess, or something. VUSB comes in here, it'll go to charge that. I think that's the charge circuit. But so, I don't know, we should be getting through the diode to go into VIN, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's something weird's happening. Anyway, the point is, if I now plug in USB, this thing should, and I can't track it, but it should start to take up a lot more current. And you know, you got to wait a second for it to boot up. But now I should be able to go to random colors and it'll change. Damn it. Are we not turning it back on? I forgot to look to see whether or not, I forgot to check my settings. Let's take a look at the settings and just make sure that our config is proper. USB pin is still set for 20. Hey. That means we might be able to turn on auto off on the battery finally. Although I do need to like tune it for the battery, so we'll need to physically connect the battery and do that. But that means that if I want to, because I remember I disabled the AP mode code too, so I will not be able to get into it via AP mode. I might want to re-enable it at some point, but for right now, this is fine for bench testing, especially if I accidentally destroy an $8 microcontroller. But what that means is that I can now edit the configuration while plugged into USB and the battery is charging. And when the battery is done charging, I can disconnect this. And then right now it's 260 milliamps, and then it dropped to 200 at reset when I disconnect the battery. Why did it do that? 200 milliamps, man. 70 milliamps at idle. So that, in spite of these are like the first couple presets on this thing are like super power hungry, but you can see here 150, 160 as the LEDs fill up. Can't get them in both in the same shot, huh? 200 milliamps for every LED on. Go to something that's less power hungry. I'll have to make up my own playlist. But look at that, 70 milliamps at idle. Hot diggity dog. We did it. We did it, Reddit. So, okay, the modes that it now has, we've got a low current idle. ESP32 Wi-Fi is pretty power hungry, 70 milliamps. And we've been able to save 70 milliamps. What kind of Tasmota? It's called WLED. And there's a whole website for it. It's not Tasmota, but it can work with MQTT and stuff like that. You can get it to work with everybody else. WLED is a more fancy project. It's got a lot of these presets that allow us to do like really cool looking stuff with our LEDs. And if you're using WLED with like waterproof lights for your Christmas lights or whatever, you can do some really amazing looking things. I would love to permanently install Christmas lights on this house and then have it on WLED so it could do stuff throughout the year. It'd be pretty cool. But I've got a lot of waterproof LP8806, whatever, LED ropes. So at some point in the future, and I don't know when, there's a chance that I could do some LED stuff over here. What I really would like to do is set up a room on my own, have a larger room than this, and be able to do deeper acoustic tiles with paneling in between, and then I could do something with like an LED strip on top of that, and then that could have a whole wall kind of animation thing going on. And WLED will let me do that without having to go down to the nitty-gritty and program RGB values. So I won't need a table full of RGB values in order to realize what I'm doing. But now my preset works great. It doesn't interrupt any of the animation, and it uses much less current. I mean, that 70 milliamps is kind of important when you're operating with only 250 milliamp hours. That won't get me through a furry convention, but it will allow me to take my dog for a walk with cool visual effects going on. So if I want to change things, because I do want to change things, I want to make a whole preset and everything that this thing will access from boot. And so to do that, I can plug it in, and then it turns back on the modem, and I'm able to then look at all the different presets and switch between them. I can also tap this once in order to change the preset, but in this case, whatever. But so if I'm in running mode, I hate how that resets it. I don't know why that resets it every time. It really shouldn't. But it'll turn the radio off, and we'll use very little current. And if I hold the button down and release, it'll then full power down the device so that we're only using milliamps. Boom. Put a QI charger under the dog bed so the collar charges when she's sleeping. I don't trust this thing yet to be strapped to my dog. There's still a lot of testing to do. Once I get the hardware together and I get this whole thing buttoned up, we've got to see what the real runtime is and stuff. And I will not use it on my dog until I give it a full rundown. WS 2812 5 volts. If you go to 12 volts on the border of the full roof line, then running WLED through Home Assistant each session. Yeah, you can do all kinds of other stuff with it too, like have your, so the ESP, or was it? Yeah, one of the wireless microcontrollers just put out a version of it where it is fully minimal. Like their circuit board is tiny. And so I would love it if they would make some outdoor lights that use those, because then I could Tasmotize that and just have the outdoor lights running off of Node Red. And that way I wouldn't have to worry about changing it up. We have like very rudimentary timers on a bunch of the lights in here. I could switch that to Tasmota, and then I can just have it turn the lights on early evening and then turn them off at a particular time at night. That would be perfect, and then I wouldn't have to adjust it throughout the year. I just have to make sure that my file server is running, which I typically do. But I'm not gonna leave the collar on her permanently. This is for like a 1 hour walk in the evening. So I've got to change which one it boots up into. See, and then the subsequent presses of the power button get us to the different presets. And I'll probably want to make like double tap turn into change the color palette. But I'll also have to hand select palettes like this where they're not using up as much energy. The ones we had on before were actually kind of like perfect. Blurs is okay. This one is a little, oh, the radio's not connected. Hold on. Put it back on the radio. I don't like that it resets when I disconnect. That's annoying that it does that. So blurs is kind of along the right lines in that it makes these little visual cues that'll make the dog look brighter. If I up the feed rate, what happens? Oh my God, we could turn it into the Matrix. Quit it now, damn it. What about this one? Oh, that makes it a little more matrixy. Yeah, not quite enough visually going on there, but that's blurs. There were some others that I was looking at that did some really cool stuff. Stuff like Feriwinkle. Well, it doesn't look very good in green. And you guys can't really see because it's like blurring the camera vision of it. So yeah, I got to go through and find which of these use the least amount of current, which is actually, that's going to be fairly difficult to do because I can't monitor the current when it's like this. Oh, that's the wrong focus. Hold on. There we go. I'm getting used to the Stream Deck XL. I'm hitting the wrong buttons. There's a setting to boot into last mode. Don't you have to have the autosave on to do that? Let's see. Hold on. Let me look at the settings. Apply preset blank at boot. Yeah, in which case that'll be the preset that I choose is the blank one. So it'll always have a linear list, but if the list is smaller, then pressing this button to get into one that looks good will be less taxing, and I can set up a timer that'll just set it to the next preset. Once I have a curated list of dog approved lighting modes, then it'll be much more useful for me to use that button. Those are frequency dependent. The juggling ones are actually kind of pretty okay. Well, that one's doing a lot of weird stuff. Like that would make her super visible, except when it fades out. Matripix. What is that? What is that doing? See, I need to have like I need to make a preset so that when she barks, it'll like get super bright. This is noise related, or is it just charging up? I missed where you set the USB power pin for Wi-Fi. Was that something you added as an option, or is that somewhere already? I had to do that for the USB pin to disable Wi-Fi. I needed to program it specifically for the ESP32C6, and I had to make my own user mod, which is radioff.cpp. The radioff.cpp uses the ESP Wi-Fi stop. It then sets its own variable, its own internal variable, to tell it what mode that it should be in, and it resets a loop timer. So in order to not use up cycles, what it does is it sets this 1 second loop timer when it will evaluate whether or not my own internal variable for the state of the radio agrees with the, this current state of the pin. And so if you plug something into that pin will read the opposite of the state of the radio. It'll reset it, reset the timer. So that's what it does. That on the surface is very simple to explain, but actually getting that together and then getting add to config and read from config properly set up was kind of a bit of a chore. Did quite a bit, and then append config data so that it saves the pin states and stuff like that. And there's checks that it does to see if the pins are available on the ESP. So I need, I have it run through a bunch of pins and then check to see if the pin manager has it assigned to us or if it has it assigned to a free pin, because that's a system that exists within WLED. It's very powerful when you get to use it down on this level, but generally for any other person's use, that's not really going to be that necessary. I have just programmed it so that I can have a device that sits at the front door off, and when I hit the button, it turns on, and then when I want to program it with USB, it'll use as much current as it can in order to reconnect to Wi-Fi. In this case, I have it running at low power mode. It is not super low power mode. There are super duper low power modes in the ESP32 where you can do things like slow the clock cycle and really make it sip on that power. We don't need to do that. Our whole purpose is to animate LEDs and make them look pretty, so I'm happy to let WLED use a fully clocked microcontroller in order to make pretty visuals on 90 LEDs. See, the big problem with this, and the only way that we could save even more current, is by using fewer LEDs, but that would be lame and stupid, and I like having 92 LEDs strapped to my dog. So, so I'm keeping the 92 LED version. We could have avoided all of this and just used fewer LEDs, right? Just because I'm using 70 milliamps for the WS2812s and I'm using 70 milliamps to power the radio, I could have had many fewer LEDs, and then our idle state would have used much less current. We have it current limited to 300 milliamps. These LEDs aren't able to get to their full brightness, which is good. This is still going to be very visible in the middle of the night. So there's a lot of different avenues that you could take differently on this. Like if you wanted to make this for your fursuit, if you wanted to have a collar on your fursuit, pervert, what you can do is just put a big battery bank somewhere, you know? Or you could strap a battery to the side of this thing, and this would get you 800 milliamp hours. One of these round batteries, they take up less volume than their flat counterparts, but they fit into devices a little bit less. So something like this one or an 18650 has much greater current capacity than our little flat battery inside of this thing. But you can't really expand this chamber out. So if I wanted to, I could maybe 3D print a wider chamber. It would look very awkward, and then I would have a little bit more control over it. The other thing that I might do if I were not doing this as like a public project and I didn't need to finish it today, I would put a photodiode on this thing. And the photodiode can be used with one of those LED strip remotes so that the dog, what is that, blood? What is that from? Where did that come from? Why do I have grease on my hand? Anyway, so the dog would be running around and I go, hey, check this out, and hit a button and something would happen. We'd go to the next preset or something. But I'm gonna have it cycle through the presets over time. I don't need the added complexity of that feature. We had to avoid feature creep in this project because I'm a creep and there were too many features. So that's what we did. We used WLED to power a dog collar. I still have to build the hardware and choose the presets, but I think you guys have a good impression of the project, and we worked on it quite a bit. And so I think, you know, maybe we've seen enough of this thing for now until I can finalize it with the hardware and build it. So tomorrow, what I would like to work on, this is a moment where, you know, we finished the project and this is like the very brief project victory lap. I do not know what to do with unplugging this, resetting it. I don't know why that happens. Because radio off would disagree with this state, and then it would try to turn the radio off because the radio is currently on. But when I do that, I lose what I'm on. This should just cleanly disconnect. That should not have reset. It might be a feature of plugging and unplugging USB happening, but there shouldn't be like a drop. This thing is providing 3 volts, almost 4 volts. So I don't know what's doing that. I don't think it's my code because it happens instantly. Nah, fuck it, leave it on. Turn the radio on. Yeah, yep. No, they're all good jams. So yeah, we can fully, like, I can run slightly more current heavy ones without breaking. I can keep them down at like 150. Like this one's great. This one is only using 100 milliamps. So that's 2.5 hours doing this. Guessing the internal switcher on the micro is making it lose power just enough to trigger a WLED reset. I think so too. It may detect it as a brownout because, again, this is not a very digital circuit that's going on right here. When I disconnect VUSB, this would be dropping to 0 through the 100K, and maybe this is lagging. Maybe because that 100 kilo ohm is not dropping it as quickly, then this isn't activating fast enough. And so we're not flipping over to the battery. I don't know. I don't think my resistor, my 400, maybe it's my 400 kilo ohm resistor that goes to the pin, leaking extra current down into this slowly and keeping it from activating fast enough. Add a capacitor. Where? To my power input? There's a lot of them. There's plenty. I could put a 4.7 like over here on the 3v3. I don't want to do that. Swap it to a 10K or a 1K resistor on the micro. Where the Sam lovin' fucking hell do you think I'm able to get to those resistors? Where do you think I'm... Let me just change the resistor. Yeah, in the micro. Let's put a smaller resistor for R9, which is right... It's right here. Okay, who said idea? Voltage drop, maybe. Condensator, good idea. I mean, yeah, putting a big capacitor on the 3v3, I can just drop it right here. I mean, we can try it. Let's try it. Let's see if we can delete the brown out. I don't think I'll have room to put the capacitor on the final thing, but we can just give it a little testaroo here. Let's try it. I realize I got all my through-hole capacitors sitting right next to me. Through-hole capacitors. Through my hole. 100 microfarad, 25 volt. Sold. It's another capacitor. You know. What's a capacitor between friends? Make sure I got the polarity right, or else I'm going to have another viral clip where I say fuck out loud. Okay, so now if I plug it in here, it turns on the radio. I bite into a chip. So we test, and we go over here, and I go to PS springy. That's pretty springy. Turn on the radio. I should make that little clip play. Sonic Stream. Oh god, that one's frenetic as hell. So let's see if we're stuck with the one that's going to give me a seizure when I unplug. I keep putting my finger on top of the micro. Before I had this resistor going across the micro, and I kept poking it with my finger to try to unplug this. The USB-C on the Zhao is like pretty strong, which is good. It's good that it's very strong, but it makes it difficult to unplug. So I can't have components that straddle the micro. The other way to do this would be to go under it with the available row of pins. All right. Nah, it still resets. This wasn't enough capacitor. It might be that this isn't affected by it. How can we bridge that gap? This thing should look a lot cooler because the radio's off. It's probably going to need like a giant capacitor to do it. I must oblige. $2,200 oof at 25 volts. Okay, minus and plus. And these are connected to minus and plus. Yeah, they are. Did you see it actually browned out when I plugged it in? It had a brown trouser moment. Obviously, I'm not going to put this in my freaking circuit, but I'm going to try. Let's go. Okay, we can't change the preset. I can use this to change it. But when I plug it in like this, it'll turn off the radio without doing a full reset. So the radio's on. So I go back to the frenetic sonic stream. There we go. And now, if I unplug this, this giant FU capacitor should preserve our 3 volts on the line. This is actually really cool that looks really cool. All right. Okay, somewhere between those two capacitor values is a value that will preserve our circuit. So let's choose something a little smaller, but a little bigger than the 100 oof. Something that perhaps will fit inside of a dog collar. Something like maybe 220 oofs at 25 volts. No cap for you. Cap, no cap. Short that out. It's dead. All right. So minus to minus, plus to plus, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Let that baby charge up a little bit. Any chance that would come in an SMD? I have some tantalums that could maybe rival it. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, I can work with this. I can work with 220 ohms. And I could maybe double up on even smaller ones, but I don't want to really necessarily have to do that. 220 UF at 25 volts. Wait a minute, this is the same value as that one? Huh, it's just a smaller version of that one. That's like just a little bit shorter than its buddy. I thought that would be less voltage. It says 25 volts on it. Yeah, I could maybe sneak in a couple SMDs. I mean, we've got this space right here in the front where I could potentially, that's actually kind of big. That's actually it's kind of a little big. Let's back up from 220 a little bit and see if we can find a slightly smaller one, because here's the 220 surface mount. At a certain point, we're running into physics here, and we can't make this any smaller. Yeah, that wouldn't really, that's not going to cut it. That's not really going to fit in. I think this front section here is going to be PCB. And so I'll have this front section to put down the microphone, the MOSFET circuit to shut off the LED strip and all that stuff. And then I'll have the 3 wires coming out of the front. So it'll be battery wires, the data wire coming out of the front. Yeah, I can just plug it into the wall. Oh, you mean 110 microfarads. 100 UF, 16 volts. This is 110, this one here. Give me that. And you take this. This is definitely something that I could fit in, but it's got a similar value with lower voltage. This is a 3-volt line that we're trying to preserve during the disconnect. So we connect it. I'm going to give it a second to turn on the radio just to make sure that we're in a good space. PS Springy. Puddles. Connection to light failed. Okay, there we go. This one's Puddles. I don't know what the fuck Puddles is doing. That's actually very cool looking though. You guys can't really see it, but I mean that's I want my dog to sparkle with the power electric, and this is actually accomplishing that. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Bap. It kept it. Wait a second. Hold on just a second. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I need to give this time to reconnect. Did that change? I don't think it did. No, it didn't change. It didn't connect yet. I need to give it time to do all that stuff so that it doesn't get itself into a weird mode. Rainbow. Wait, I need to put it on one of the less current hungry ones. Rocktives? There we go. That's less current hungry. If there's blank space, if there's dark space on it, then it's going to be less current hungry. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Confirmed that a 100 UF cap. We were using a 110 before, but that was at 25 volts, which made it need all of the extra material, which is why it's a much larger component. So this one is rated for 16 volts, which we shouldn't be seeing anywhere near any time. So if we put the 16 volt 100 UF on this thing, that is enough capacitance, because remember, capacitance is it's a time dependent value, right? The amount of voltage and current that you're storing, the energy that you're storing in here, is dependent on time, like how much you're going to use at the other end, blah, 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 blah. The little current spike that we get from unplugging this is what we're trying to avoid. If we are on a more current hungry preset, that should be taking battery power and not running power. Pyro asks, what is up? What is up, you big goober of a man? How's it going? Yeah, so we're baking in our final features on this thing, but Pyro has subbed for 82 months on a streak. Holy shit. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. I really appreciate it, man. 82 months. I lost my longest streak. I lost my Atom streak. My Atom streak was going to be 69. I think the next time I do it, it'll at least give me credit for having 69 months subbed. I was waiting for that number. I wanted to get a reaction out of Scoot for that number, and then he fucking died. So that was fucking tragic. I didn't get my 69-month congratulations. That was a very, very sad situation. It's a wrestling injury, and he actually did die, which is very tragic. The Scoot brought a lot to that channel. It was very fun. Why did that just... Oh, it just switched presets. All right. The point that we're trying to... I'm going to go to a different one that's on. When I unplug this, we preserve functionality. Good. Okay. So we're not browning out anymore. What was happening is I was unplugging USB, and the sudden current influx was enough for the power supply to dip out and the microcontroller to do like a brownout, and then it resets after the brownout. But what we've done is we have made the least current hungry version of WLED on an ESP32C6. And we accomplish that by running Deep Sleep, which allows me to hold the power button down and fully power out the microcontroller. You can also do that by putting a friggin' switch, a regular ass switch on the battery wires. And maybe in a future version, I might want to do that so that I can actually power this thing down and store it. Because it kind of bothers me that this thing is going to be in super low power mode all the time. But I guess that's just doing business. So what happens is this goes into a deep sleep and the microcontroller fully shuts itself down. Not the C3. I got to remember that. I bought the C6 to anticipate for the future because this thing has even lower power modes to it. Not all that much more low power, but I also don't have to like crank an antenna into the case somewhere. Anyway, so we've been able to make this thing deep sleep. I put in a battery monitor preset that'll be able to shut this thing down when it gets down to 10% battery. So it'll go into a deep sleep when it gets down to 10%. When I plug this thing back in, battery will charge back up, and then this thing will be able to function again. It'll be able to either be turned on with the button or turn itself on when it plugs into USB. Seems like it might be that I'll have to have it turn itself back on. Have you tried the LIGO TTGO TOI plus ESP? No. No, I've got the Seed Studio Xiao, and if you look closely, you can see that the Xiao is the exact size that I need it to be, which is amazing. And it also, because Short Lurker suggested this one also has battery input on the back, and that's what we're doing here. I'm pumping, using my power supply, I'm pumping battery into these lines here that go under the Xiao, and then I can monitor how much current it's using on the different presets, which comes to mind right now that I might have wanted to have a button mode that'll turn back on the radio or turn off the radio from the button again, because I can't browse. Wait, no, I can't. I have to have, no, I can't do that. I have to have the radio on in order to mess with the presets and the lists. But okay, so I've got those two plugins, and then I've got a microphone plugin because I wanted to have interactivity on this thing. I wanted to have it so that if Willow makes more noise, if she's running or barking, this thing will go crazy, right? That'll all be solved with much poking and prodding from me playing with the presets. So I'm gonna have to do that on the bench setup, set up a big preset list. The problem is we couldn't get to the specific ESP32C3 sleep mode that we wanted. ESP32C3 expands on the 8266. It has many more different types of sleep that you can get into, and the particular one that we wanted was turning off Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi takes 70 milliamps. And 70 milliamps on a device that's hooked up to a 250 milliamp hour battery is an insane amount. That's like a quarter of, is it a quarter? 7 and 7 is 14, 28. Yes, it's like a quarter of our power was dedicated to Wi-Fi that we didn't need while my dog is touching grass. It's getting dark out. While my dog is touching grass, she does not need to be connected to Wi-Fi, right? She already uses too much Wi-Fi as it is. So we were able to shut down the modem by setting our own variable and monitoring a pin. So I had to use synthesizer techniques to diode clamp a pin with a very low current 5 volts running into it. So 400 kilo ohms is clamping down the current coming out of this resistor. It'll put this pin up to 5 volts, and the ESP32 doesn't care because there's no chutzpah behind it. It doesn't have any current at all. We got an extreme current limiting resistor. But just to be safe, I put the diode on there, which means that now there's a voltage difference from 3 volts to 5 volts. And so all that excess voltage flows through the diode, and now there's 5 volts sitting on that pin. Very, very little. It's an infinitesimal amount of extra current wasted. The battery monitor is probably wasting more current than this thing is. So now I am able to actually shut down the battery when it's low. I'm able to put the device into deep sleep, and I'm able to turn off Wi-Fi when it's not plugged into USB. Instead of adding a different button mode, which would have been simpler to do in the code, I have it monitoring whether or not I'm plugged into 5 volts, which is much more useful for me because when I've got the thing on a charger, I will then be able to get into it wirelessly and change all the presets and stuff. That's really the, sitting here at the desk is the scenario that I'm thinking of for when I actually want. I'm not gonna want to connect to it with my phone out in the wild. If this were a collar that I was gonna put on my fursuit, I would expand the battery capacity either by means of an external supply, possibly make a new button click to turn off and on Wi-Fi, maybe. But putting a larger battery on this would be vital because I want this thing to sparkle like nobody's business. You really want to be like loud and out there if you're at like a convention. This would be a huge, people would love this thing, right? If I ever find myself at a fursuit convention, which is not looking likely, this would be awesome on it. If this were a thing on a fursuit, this wouldn't be constrained by size. The other part is that you might want to redesign it and just sew this part yourself and have it wrap completely around, and then you could put the electronics somewhere in the suit. That would be a much better approach. I'm modifying an existing product to still be the same size it is, because this fits Willow nicely, and it lights her fur up okay. Here, I'll show you guys. But yeah, again, like the application is pretty specific. What's going on here? Oh, good. Recent data 163. Hey, my glucose level's normal. Where was I going? Camera roll. Camera roll. Exhibit A. Willow. That looks familiar. I use this camera to make my thumbnails. It's not lazy, you're lazy. Corgi butt. Sheepy dog. Crazy dog. That's my brother's dog. Where is this video? Here it is. So this is how my email finds you. That's how visible she is with the collar on in the dusk. Her hair covers up a lot of it. VIP, very important pictures. These are very important pictures that we're looking at. That's not this collar. That's the original. It's a white LED collar, and the mode that it gets into initially is actually blinking, which I don't want. So this way I'm able to control what mode it initially goes into and have really cool animations on it. But yeah, again, like, I don't know, this, like, if you were wearing this without the fursuit, that'd be fine. If you're into being collared, it's still a collar, like this works. We always use the harness with Willow because we don't want to crush her windpipe. she's a stubborn 40-pound dog with very short legs, so she's like a boat anchor. But getting this fabric and then just repeating this, it's literally just one strip down the back and then a hanging strip that has the centerpiece on it that's permeable from LEDs. It's made out of like nylon. So this will be pretty cool. I mean, this isn't the best preset. The ones that I'm showing are the ones that are up on the list because this is currently remote. What I'm going to do next with this is pack all the electronics into the container and then do some testing with the battery, I guess. Although if I really wanted to like be an engineer on this one, I would connect the battery to these two pins and then do battery testing on the battery. But I think what I'm going to do instead is pack it all up and then do the rest of the testing. Because now we've got this thing so that it stays in the same mode when I plug it and when I unplug it. And the only thing that's missing are the presets. So I think this one's ready to actually be taken to the next stage. Man, that was a bit of a struggle today, but we figured it out. There were problems with my programming methodology. I didn't know how to close stuff in platform I/O, problems with maybe the computer ignoring the plug thing. We had a problem with the battery keeping the device alive too much. And that's going to be a bit of an issue with this hardware, because as soon as I connect that battery, it is permanent. It's permanently connected. So I'm not sure what I can do about that. I may need to put in like an emergency battery off switch if I need to reset and reprogram the device. Although then again, I'm going to be going into this thing when the C6 is supported by WLEDs, so there's that. It may be possible that I drill a little hole in it so that I can press that reset button too. But the reset button doesn't get me into the programming mode where I can upload code. So there's some stuff that I got to worry about still. I think this program will be good though, what we've got going in there for a long time. So I'm going to call this one done. We'll do a hardware stream on it at some point. I want to look at a car seat tomorrow. I have a whole car seat sitting in the other room, and we need to figure out where to put 12 volts on it and where not to put 12 volts on it. I really don't want that airbag going off because that'll fuck up the seat. It'll bend the BMW puts a big plastic thing on the back of the seat, and you take that off in order to access all the stuff. And so the big plastic thing probably gets broken when it gets fucking thrown out of the way by an airbag. So I want to get that plastic off of there, get the airbag out. We're not going to set it off in the shop because that's a ballistic detonation, and it's going to bring with it a whole bunch of gas that I don't want to breathe. It's not good for you. I do have headphones that, I have ear pro that I can put on in order to set the thing off in here, but I don't think it's a good idea because I'm going to get gassed out by airbag smell, and it's like a powdery gas. I don't like, no thanks. All right, so I didn't do the next thing yet. All I did was the thumbnail. Hold on, let's go to Discord, and let's go to admin. I didn't take a new picture for the thumbnail. All of my pictures up until the last two streams have been unique. They've been unique except for the last couple where I'm borrowing elements from other images and stuff. SWAT will be kicking in the door. Worse, the fire department. Tomorrow, I believe I'm streaming tomorrow unless something comes up. So I'm going to set it for the 6th. And I will be back in approximately... hold on, I'm messing it up. Approximately 20 hours, 25 minutes, and 46 seconds. I will be back, and we will work on a car seat, and we'll be hitting it with voltage and moving it around and figuring out what's there. Probably labeling it too. Maybe I can use the label printer to put some labels on some of the lines so that I know what's what. Yeah, hey, it's good to see you, Pyro. Yeah, I'll be around. You guys will be around. We'll figure it out. And I'll see you all tomorrow. I don't know if, because I'm not on late. It's kind of a little early for me to end. So who is doing right now? We succeeded though. Like success, right? We can put that one. I can't quite call that done yet, but it's near enough as makes no difference. We'll have to see what battery life is like though. That's the big one. Garrick Durak is streaming, but I know a lot of you guys probably don't speak the language. How many does he have? 77? Holy shit. Garrick is doing the numbers that I used to do. Ghost Freak is on. Carhole is doing Carhole things. Other than that, it's the usual crew of people, but nothing I'm particularly... I'm always looking for some of these like outliers that I've sort of put together. Daniel Springwald, but if you don't speak German, it's kind of useless. I don't want to raid into a foreign language because then their mods have to like get in there and do their stuff. I know a lot of you guys speak English and you're not from Ingerland or I know a lot of you foreign guys speak English. I personally, when I get people speaking other languages in here, I can't moderate it. And I'm typically the only person here, and I have to cut and paste it into Google Translate to make sure you aren't cursing me off in your native tongues, which I have had happen. So me raiding a bunch of English speakers into somebody else's stream, it might be appreciated, but at the same time, I could see that going completely wrong. I could see that being absolutely not the thing to do. Yeah, shit, all these people are coming in here saying, oh bother says hi, and I don't know whether or not that's like cursing my grandparents or not. I should raid a foreign language streamer, and then all of my people will say, a curse upon your whole lineage. He's bilingual. Yeah, most people that stream in other languages are, which is not fair for me to not know other languages. I always find, like, on Reddit, the, like, ik eel, I don't know how to pronounce that, but that the German language, like, meme sub, and I'll open up the meme and I'll look at it and I'll go, I don't understand any of these words. I'll put it into Google Translate, and it turns out all the words are pretty intuitive, and that I could have understood it if I just slowed down and read and said, I think they're talking about, like, you know, the grocery market or something like that. It's kind of funny. Once you translate it, it's like, ah, yes, of course. Animatronics. I should check that out. Yes. Okay, I gotta go. I gotta walk the dog before it gets too dark out to walk the dog. She's gonna have to wear the white LED collar instead of this one, which is very disappointing, but we finally got our full feature set into our LED dog collar, and this can move into the final stage of the project. So I will be back in 27 hours or something, 24. I don't know. I'll see you guys then. Why do I always miss